Chapter 562. If hard work and hard work worked, Dao was sure that he would have been invincible long ago. It was only useful for disciples of the same level and treatment. If he wanted to compete with disciples of a higher level, he would definitely not even think about it. Therefore, Dao was very clear that resources were the way to go. With resources, a disciple could become an expert. Without resources, an expert could become a disciple of the same level. Therefore, Wu Kedi did not lie. The Wu family had few people, so each disciple would definitely get more resources than others. Seeing Dao's expression change, Wu Kedi sneered in his heart, but the expression on his face did not change at all. He still had a smile on his face. Dao, think about it. Originally, there were many stories in our martial arts world. Buying a disciple would give you some. If you can become the disciple of the Wu family successor, how many benefits would you get? I think even if I don't say it, you should know. After hearing Wu Kedi's words, Dao naturally knew that if he became the disciple of the Wu family successor, he would naturally get more benefits from the original foundation. Thinking of this, Dao already made a choice in his heart. That was to join the Wu family and strive to become the disciple of the Wu family successor. From then on, he would step onto the peak of life. Li Shan, who was standing on the side, knew that if he did not speak, Dao would definitely run away. So he quickly said, Dao, wait a moment. Speaking of this, Li Shan's tone paused. He quickly thought in his heart before continuing, Dao, you have to think clearly before making a decision. Our Godly Knife sect has many disciples. Although we will treat them differently when distributing resources, don't forget that no matter when, if you can become the disciple of the Godly Knife sect's sixth disciple, you will definitely get the most resources. Dao, you shouldn't doubt this, right? Speaking of this, Li Shan did not wait for Dao's reply and continued to speak. Dao, as long as you have my help, you should have a very high chance of becoming the disciple of the Godly Knife sect's sixth disciple. I can guarantee that in terms of resources, there is no one in the entire South County who has more resources than the Godly Knife sect. In this situation, as the disciple of the Godly Knife sect's sixth disciple, you can imagine how much benefits you will get. Dao, I hope you think clearly about what to choose. Hearing Li Shan's words, Dao was stunned again. As a disciple of the Godly Saber sect, he naturally knew that Li Mingshan's words were not false. The Godly Saber sect had a lot of resources, and the people who could get the most resources were, of course, the disciples of the Godly Saber sect's patriarch. As the sixth disciple of the Godly Saber sect's patriarch, they would definitely get more benefits. There was one more thing that Dao was sure of. Although the Wu clan was powerful, they were still far from the Godly Blade sect. Although they had a lot of resources, they were definitely incomparable to the Godly Blade sect. Most importantly, compared to the important figures of the Wu family, the important figures of the Godly Saber sect were of a higher level in the eyes of everyone in South County. Thinking up to this point, Silver Knife turned his head to look at Li Shan and quickly asked, Lord Protector, if it weren't for that level 25 equipment, would you have supported me to become the sixth disciple of the Godly Knife sect's sect master? Hearing Dao's words, Li Shan was stunned for a moment. After reacting, he hesitantly asked, Dao, what do you mean? Dao scratched his head embarrassedly. Lord Protector, if it's possible, I would like to use that level 25 equipment to make a deal with the Wu clan. I would like to exchange it for a higher grade elixir to increase my strength. At that time, I can ask Lord Protector to help me become the sixth disciple of the Godly Saber sect's patriarch. Wouldn't that be killing two birds with one stone? Hearing Dao's words, Li Shan's heart trembled. He looked at Dao in disbelief and asked with a trembling voice, Dao, what did you say? You want to use that level 25 equipment to make a deal with the Wu clan? Dao nodded. Lord Protector, Wu Kedi just said that my level 25 equipment can be exchanged for a higher grade elixir. I think what he said is true. That's why I want to make a deal with him. Hearing these words, Wu Kedi was overjoyed. He clapped his hands and shouted, Dao, good job. You're doing the right thing. This is killing two birds with one stone. Speaking up to this point, Wu Kedi paused for a moment before continuing. Dao, By doing this, not only can you become the sixth disciple of the godly saber sex patriarch and lay the foundation for your future, you can also use that level 25 equipment to exchange for a higher grade elixir, increasing your strength to the greatest extent possible. Dao, it must have been hard for you to come up with such a good idea. Dao, I support your idea. Just do it boldly. If anyone opposes it, the Wu clan will not let them off. Ha! Although Dao's suggestion made Wu Ke very happy, Li Shanshan on the side was somewhat unwilling. He only felt a sudden surge of anger in his heart. He couldn't help but clench his fists. Looking at Dao in front of him, he couldn't help but want to immediately rush up and beat this annoying Dao into a pulp. Li Shanshan tried so hard to persuade Dao to stay. He even said that he would help him become the sixth disciple of the godly saber sex patriarch. Why? Could it be that he really liked Dao's super high talent or his hard work? No, it was all because of the level 25 equipment that Shui Lingzi gave him. Li Shanshan did not allow Dao to leave the godly saber sect because he wanted that level 25 equipment. That was why he was willing to give him all kinds of benefits. He even shamelessly told his niece about it. Why? It was all because of that level 25 equipment. Li Shanshan had already thought it through. As long as he got that level 25 equipment, he would no longer care about Dao. Even if Dao wanted to leave the godly saber sect, Li Shanshan would not care. He was just a lowly disciple. Li Shanshan was not related to him in any way, so why would he sincerely help him? However, after promising so many benefits, this hateful Dao actually dared to say such things. He wanted to give the level 25 equipment to the Wu clan and then help him become the sixth disciple of the godly saber sex patriarch. Li Shanshan wanted to grab Dao and ask him, why? Why should I help you? Without that level 25 equipment, what reason would Li Shanshan have to help him? Could it be that this silver knife really thought that he was a heavenly genius, a character that was hard to come by? Thinking up to here, Li Shanshan sneered in his heart. He looked at Dao in front of him and then looked at Wu Ke, who had a cold smile on his face. His heart suddenly moved, and he immediately had an idea. Li Shanshan turned his head to look at Dao and nodded with a smile. Dao, you are very smart. You can actually think of a way to kill two birds with one stone. You are really amazing. Chapter 563. Hearing Li Shanshan's praise, Dao said embarrassedly, "It's all because of Protector's guidance that I thought of a way to get the best of both worlds." Speaking up to here, Dao paused for a moment. His face suddenly had a hint of surprise, and then he continued, "Lord Protector, could it be that you've agreed to my request?" Hearing Dao's question, Li Shanshan nodded and said earnestly, "Dao, you are a disciple of the Godly Knife sect, and I am the protector of the Godly Knife sect. We're on the same side, so I naturally won't lie to you. I just want to help you wholeheartedly and help you achieve your dreams." Speaking of this, Li Shanshan paused and then continued, "Dao, although what you are doing is good, it is not the best choice. If you can find a better choice, it will help you greatly in the future." Hearing Li Shanshan's words, Dao's face showed a trace of doubt. He turned his head to look at Li Shanshan and asked tentatively, "Protector, do you have a better way?" Li Shanshan nodded. "Dao, can't you think of one?" Dao shook his head. "I can't think of one. Disciple thinks that the way just now is the best way." Hearing Dao's answer, Li Shanshan immediately waved his hand and said with a smile, "Dao, how can that be the best way? Think about it carefully. What is your purpose? What do you want? What is the best way for you? Isn't it completely up to you to choose?" Hearing Li Shanshan's words, Dao scratched his head in distress. After pondering for a while, he shook his head. "I really can't think of one. Please advise me, Protector." Seeing that Dao couldn't think of one, Li Shanshan slowly said, "Dao, what is your dream?" Hearing Li Shanshan's words, Dao didn't even think about it before answering. "Of course it is to stand out and become a famous big shot." Li Shanshan asked again, "Dao, then let me ask you, if you want to become a big shot, what is the first condition?" Dao thought for a while and answered with some uncertainty, "It should be high martial arts, right?" Li Shanshan nodded. "Dao, you're right. If you want to be a big shot, the first condition is to have high martial arts skills. At this point, Li Shanshan paused for a moment before continuing. There is another point, and that is power. For example, the head of the Godly Knife sect or the head of the Wu clan. On one hand, they have high martial arts, and on the other hand, they also have a high status. Speaking of this, Li Mingshan turned to look at Yin Dao and asked with a smile, Yin Dao, do you understand what I mean? Yin Dao thought for a while and then nodded. After a while, he shook his head again. Although I understand a little, I'm still a little confused. Lord Protector, please explain more clearly so that I won't be able to understand. After hearing Yin Dao's words, Li Mingshan nodded and said with a smile, Okay, then I'll get straight to the point, in case you don't understand. Speaking of this, Li Shanshan paused for a moment before continuing, Yin Dao, if you want to be a big shot, not only do you have to have high martial arts skills, but you also have to have a high status. If you can become the head of the Godly Knife sect, you will naturally be able to call the wind and summon the rain in the South County and become a big shot. However, Yin Dao, even if you become the disciple of the sixth disciple of the Godly Knife sect, do you have the confidence to become the head of the Godly Knife sect? After hearing Li Shanshan's question, Yin Dao immediately shook his head. I don't know. I really don't know. Speaking of this, Yin Dao paused for a moment before continuing. I always feel that this is as unreal as a dream. Lord Protector, am I right? Hearing this, Li Shanshan nodded. Yin Dao, there are countless disciples in the Godly Knife sect, and there are countless talented people. Even if you become the disciple of the sixth disciple of the Godly Knife sect, you may not be able to stand out among so many disciples. Speaking of this, Li Shanshan paused for a moment before continuing. What's more, even if you can become the disciple of the sixth disciple of the Godly Knife sect, even if you can stand out among his disciples and become the number one person in his sect, so what? Don't forget, the sixth disciple of the Godly Saber sect sect master is ranked above him, and there are 5 other senior brothers ranked before him. If the Godly Saber sect master chooses a successor, I'm afraid he should start from eldest senior brother. Speaking up to this point, Li Shanshan paused for a moment before continuing. You are only a disciple of the Godly Knife sect's lord. Needless to say, even the Godly Knife sect's lord's sixth disciple does not have the confidence to become the Godly Knife sect's lord. Since the sixth disciple of the Godly Knife sect can't become the head of the Godly Knife sect, then how can you have the chance to become the head of the Godly Knife sect? Hearing Li Shanshan's words, Yin Dao finally understood. After understanding the reason behind it, Yin Dao's face suddenly changed as he asked in a shocked voice, Then isn't it meaningless for me to join the sixth disciple of the Godly Knife sect? Even if I can learn martial arts, I won't be able to become the head of the Godly Knife sect. Li Shanshan sighed. Yin Dao, this is what I want to say. Even if you join the sixth disciple of the Godly Knife sect, you won't have the chance to fulfill your wish. At this moment, not only did Yin Dao's face become ugly, even his body was slightly trembling as tears flowed down from his eyes. I didn't think that I would be so useless. Even if Lord Protector helps me become the sixth disciple of the Godly Knife sect, I won't be able to become the head of the Godly Knife sect. Heavens, earth, why are you so unfair to me, Yin Dao? Even if I become the sixth disciple of the Godly Knife sect, I won't have the chance to become the head of the Godly Knife sect. Why is this so? Did I, Yin Dao, do something wrong to make you treat me like this? Hearing Yin Dao's cries like a cuckoo crying blood, Li Shanshan didn't feel heartbroken at all. He only felt that it was ridiculous. On the side, Wu Kadi almost laughed out loud. Yin Dao was silent for a while before he lowered his head to look at Li Shanshan. He sneered and asked, Lord Protector, since you know everything, why did you lie to me? Tell me, why did you do this? Hearing Yin Dao's question, Li Shanshan smiled and replied, Yin Dao, you are a disciple of the Godly Knife sect. Naturally, I have to tell you the truth. Speaking up to here, Li Shanshan's tone paused for a while before he continued. Yin Dao, after listening to my words, you may feel a little resentful and unwilling. But think about it carefully. As long as we work hard, we will eventually find a solution, right? Yin Dao sneered and asked, Lord Protector, don't lie to me. I'm just a useless guy. No matter what you say, I can't do it. Please don't say any more. Chapter 564. Seeing that Dao was puzzled, Li Shan sneered in his heart and slowly said, Dao, think about it. Why would this happen in the Godly Knife sect? Speaking up to here, Li Shan did not wait for Dao to answer and continued, the main reason why this happened in the Godly Knife sect is because there are too many people. Because there are too many people, there is a lot of competition. Speaking up to here, Li Shan paused for a moment before continuing. The Wu clan is different. They have too few people, and more importantly, Wu Kadi can make you a disciple of the Wu clan successor. Dao, think about it. How many disciples can the Wu clan successor have? Relatively speaking, you will have less competition. In the Godly Knife sect, the Godly Knife sect's patriarch has 6 disciples, and these 6 disciples have taken in a lot of disciples. Think about it. If you compete with hundreds of people or a few people, which one is more beneficial to you? After hearing Li Shan's explanation, Dao's eyes suddenly lit up and said in surprise, of course it is more beneficial to compete with a few people. Hearing this, Li Shan nodded with satisfaction. Dao, now you understand what I mean? Hearing Li Shan's words, Dao immediately nodded. I understand. I understand what Lord Protector means. Speaking up to here, Dao paused for a moment before continuing. Lord Protector wants me to join the Wu clan. This is the most beneficial for me. Am I right? Hearing Dao's words, Li Shan nodded with satisfaction. Dao, you are very smart. You can understand these things very quickly. Speaking up to here, Li Shan paused for a moment before continuing. Dao, as for your equipment, I can make the decision for you. You can exchange it for a good elixir from the Godly Knife sect. This way, as long as your strength increases, you will be more competitive in the Wu clan. Maybe when I see you in the future, I will have to call you Patriarch. Hearing Li Shan's words, Dao immediately beamed with joy. He hurriedly replied, if I can really become the head of the Wu clan, Dao, will definitely not forget Lord Protector's kindness. At that time, if Lord Protector needs anything, you must tell me. I will definitely let the Wu clan do it for Lord Protector. Just as Dao finished speaking, Wu Kadi's eyes widened in disbelief as he stared at Dao. Dao hadn't even joined the Wu clan yet, but he was already fantasizing about becoming the Wu clan's patriarch. This change shocked Wu Kadi so much that he didn't know what to say. Wu Kadi was so shocked that he couldn't say anything. Silver Knife turned his head to look at him with a face full of joy and said with a smile, Lord Protector has already given me the best suggestion to join your Wu clan and become the Wu clan's patriarch. I have seriously considered his words, and I feel that they are very reasonable. Speaking up to here, Dao paused for a moment before continuing. Wu Kadi, I feel that after joining your Wu clan, I will use that level 25 equipment to ask Lord Protector to exchange it for a good elixir to increase my strength. Speaking up to here, Dao paused for a moment. He stepped forward and patted Wu Kadi's shoulder before continuing. Wu Kadi, as long as I become the Wu clan's patriarch at that time, I will definitely not treat you unfairly. I hope that during this period of time, you will assist me well so that I can become the Wu clan's patriarch as soon as possible. After hearing Dao's words, Li Shan's heart bloomed with joy. He turned his head to look at Wu Kadi and couldn't help but tease him. Wu Kadi, since you value Dao's future and his potential so much, Dao has already given you this opportunity to assist him. I hope that you will not waste this opportunity. Help Dao well so that he can become your patriarch as soon as possible. As soon as Li Shan finished speaking, there was a burst of laughter that came from the side. This laughter made Wu Kadi both embarrassed and angry. He fiercely turned his head to glare at Li Shan and sneered. Li Shan, you are wrong. In my opinion, the person who wants to capture Dao should be you. Speaking up to here, Wu Kadi paused for a moment. He turned his head to look at Dao before continuing. Brother Dao, what Li Shan said is wrong. He is lying to you. You have been in the South region for so many years. You should know which is stronger, the Godly Sword sect or the Wu clan, right? Hearing Wu Kadi's question, Dao didn't even think before answering. Of course, the Godly Sword sect is stronger. The Godly Sword sect has countless disciples. In terms of strength in the South region, there is almost no one who can match them. Although I don't know much about the Wu clan's power, I think it can't be compared to the Godly Sword sect. Hearing Dao's answer, Wu Kadi immediately gave him a thumbs up. Brother Dao, you are indeed wise. How can this kind of thing stop you? Speaking up to here, Wu Kadi paused for a moment before continuing. That's right. In terms of power, the Godly Sword sect is the most powerful. It is impossible for the Wu clan to be compared to the Godly Sword sect. Brother Dao, as long as you become the sect master of the Godly Sword sect in the South region, you could be considered the #1 person in the South region. Speaking up to here, Wu Kadi's tone became more serious. Brother Dao, you're the #1 person in the South region. As long as you become the sect master of the Godly Sword sect, no one in the South region doesn't know you. At that time, when everyone in the South region sees you, they will respectfully call you the sect master of the Godly Sword sect. Speaking up to here, Wu Kadi sighed. Although the Wu clan's power is not bad, it can't be compared to the Godly Sword sect. There aren't many disciples in the Wu clan, so their influence in the South region is not great. Even if you can become the sect master of the Wu clan, not many people will know you. With Brother Dao's intelligence, if you only become the sect master of the Wu clan, it would be a waste of your talent. I think the position of sect master of the Godly Sword sect is more suitable for you. After hearing Wu Kadi's words, Dao couldn't help but frown. He pondered for a moment before slowly saying, Wu Kadi, I know about the situation you're talking about, but you also heard what we said just now. The sect master of the Godly Sword sect has a total of 6 disciples, and these 6 disciples have taken in many disciples. In this case, I really have more than 100 competitors. At this point, Dao paused. He hesitated for a moment before continuing. Among so many people, I really don't have the confidence to stand out and become the sect master of the Godly Saber sect. That's why I decided to join your Wu clan and become the patriarch of your Wu clan. This is also a helpless move. Hearing Dao's words, Wu Kadi was so angry that his lungs almost exploded. He wanted nothing more than to go up and slap Dao. Chapter 565. Many people dreamed of becoming the Wu clan's patriarch, but in Dao's words, it had become a forced position that could only be taken. Wu Kadi only wanted to see what was in Dao's head. Dao saw that Wu Kadi didn't want to speak and just kept looking at him while gnashing his teeth. Dao felt strange and hurriedly asked, Wu Kadi, what's wrong? Are you injured? Dao paused for a moment before continuing. Wu Kadi, you have to protect yourself well. When I get to the Wu family, I'll need you to give me advice. After hearing Silver Knife's words, Wu Kadi almost spat out a mouthful of saliva. He was so angry that his face and neck turned red. After a while, Wu Kadi, who was gasping for breath, finally calmed down a little. At this time, Li Shan spoke again. Dao, since things have been decided, I don't think Wu Kadi has any objections. Why don't the two of you sign a contract? That would be safer. Dao, what do you think? Dao didn't even think about this kind of thing and just waved his hand casually. Okay, since Wu Kadi wants to sign a contract, then I'll sign one with him. I don't want him to worry that I'll forget about him after I become the Wu family's patriarch. Hearing Dao's words, Shui Lingzi, who had been bitterly enduring, couldn't bear it anymore. She first looked up to the sky and laughed a few times before saying, Dao, you're right. We should sign a contract so that they don't believe you. Seeing Shui Lingzi come forward to tease him, Wu Kadi forcefully suppressed his anger and couldn't bear it any longer. He suddenly jumped up into the air. Everyone only heard Wu Kadi's roar and saw Wu Kadi's figure was like a cannonball, carrying an unstoppable chi as he rushed toward Shui Lingzi like a storm. Shui Lingzi didn't expect Wu Kadi to suddenly attack. It was too late for her to dodge, so she had no choice but to fight back. Their fists collided with each other, producing a dull thud. After the thud, Wu Kadi was once again sent flying into the air by the force of the impact. Shui Lingzi had no place to dissipate the force of the punch and was forced to bend down by the powerful, true qi. Her feet sank into the ground, and she barely managed to catch Wu Kedi's punch. After Wu Kedi's punch succeeded, he flipped in the air, and his anger didn't diminish. He let out another roar and threw another punch at Shui Lingzi. Seeing this, Shui Lingzi cursed inwardly. Because he was in a panic, he didn't circulate all of his strength to meet Wu Kedi's attack, causing his qi to stagnate. By the time he tried to circulate his qi to meet Wu Kedi's attack, Wu Kedi's fist had already arrived. Seeing this, Fire Spirit could only stomp on the ground and rush towards Wu Kedi like lightning, wanting to save Water Spirit. However, Wu Kedi was so angry that he couldn't think straight. In his eyes, there was only Shui Lingzi and Shui Lingzi's mocking words. Shui Lingzi had just raised her fist when she felt a violent force smash into her shoulder, causing her to lose her balance and tumble backwards. Wu Kedi's fist hit Shui Lingzi, but he was still angry and threw out another punch. However, at this time, Fire Spirit's attack had already arrived. Wu Kedi was caught off guard and was hit in the left rib. Wu Kedi was hit by Shui Lingzi's punch and let out a miserable cry as he was sent flying. Shui Lingzi rolled on the ground for 10 meters before stabilizing herself. She felt a sharp pain in her shoulder and her body tumbled. This reaction was too violent. Shui Lingzi opened her mouth and spat out a mouthful of blood onto the ground. Wu Kedi was hit by Fire Spirit's punch and didn't fare much better. After flying for 10 meters, he fell heavily onto the ground. Before he could get up, he spat out a few mouthfuls of blood. Shui Lingzi was only hit in the arm by Wu Kedi, so her injury was relatively light. However, Wu Kedi was hit in the rib by Fire Spirit. This punch almost made him lose his fighting strength temporarily. Seeing Shui Lingzi heavily injured, Fire Spirit's temper was irritable. Seeing this scene, he was so angry that he couldn't restrain his anger. He threw a punch at Wu Kedi and only glanced at Shui Lingzi before roaring and rushing towards Wu Kedi. At this time, a figure suddenly rushed out from behind Wu Kedi and blocked in front of him. Fire Spirit, do you really want to fight? Fire Spirit saw Wu Kedi blocking in front of him and roared again. However, he didn't stop. Instead, he threw out 2 fists towards Wu Kedi. Wu Kedi saw this and sneered. He suddenly waved his dragon head walking stick and formed a ball of light in front of him, blocking Fire Spirit. Seeing Wu Kedi's dragon head walking stick, Fire Spirit wasn't afraid at all. He stared at the ball of light and suddenly roared. His 2 fists turned into a single fist and smashed towards the center of the ball of light. This change happened in a flash. Fire Spirit's fist smashed into Wu Kedi's hand that was holding the dragon head walking stick. The 2 of them were pushed back a few steps by this force before they could stabilize themselves. At this moment, the people around them finally reacted and stood in between the 2 of them. Shadowless shouted, "Let's talk nicely. Why do you have to fight?" Fire Spirit heard this and pointed at Wu Kedi, who was lying on the ground. He yelled, "Shadowless, go ask Wu Kedi why he attacked my big brother." Hearing this, Wu Kedi didn't wait for Shadowless to say anything and got up while enduring the pain. He pointed at Water Spirit in the distance and angrily said, "The matter between me and Dao. Why are you talking nonsense?" Hearing Wu Kedi's question, Shui Lingzi said angrily, "Wu Kedi, it's already late and you're still dilly-dallying. Who has time to wait for you?" Wu Kedi sneered, "Shui Lingzi, if you don't have time, you can leave first. No one is stopping you." After hearing Wu Kedi's words, Shui Lingzi suddenly laughed. "Wu Kedi, you said it yourself." Speaking up to here, Shui Lingzi paused for a moment before continuing. "You all heard Wu Kedi's words. Now, I declare that all the conditions I agreed to are null and void. I won't be taking the 7 skills sex people away." Hearing Shui Lingzi's words, everyone was shocked. Shadowless hurriedly asked, "Shui Lingzi, what are you doing? You already promised us. Why are you going back on your word?" Hearing Shadowless' question, Shui Lingzi sneered and wiped the stain from the corner of her mouth before extending her hand in front of Shadowless, Shadowless, did you see that? I clearly agreed to your conditions, but in the end, I was still heavily injured by this Wu Kadi. So, I've decided to give up. Chapter 566. After hearing Water Spirit's words, Wu Kadi reluctantly stood up and angrily said, Water Spirit, even if I don't take your equipment today, I'll still settle this with you. Water Spirit heard this and sneered. All right then, I won't give you any equipment. I'll wait for you to settle this with me. After hearing the two arguing, Li Mingshan and Shadowless gave each other a look and quickly went up to stop the fight. Shadowless pulled Water Spirit and whispered, Water Spirit, this matter is about to be settled. Why are you going back on your words? Water Spirit sneered. It's not that I want to go back on my words, but Wu Kadi went too far. I can't take this lying down. After hearing Shui Lingzi's words, Shadowless sighed and said, Shui Lingzi, why did you come here today? Are you here to get angry with Wu Kadi? Water Spirit heard this and gritted her teeth. Shadowless, I understand what you mean, but I can't take this lying down. Shadowless shook his head. No matter what you do, it won't be so smooth. For this mission, I think you should let Wu Kadi go this time. Water Spirit snorted and turned to look at Wu Kadi. I'll let him go this time, but only if he apologizes to me. After hearing Shui Lingzi's words, Shadowless was stunned for a moment before he bitterly smiled and said, Shui Lingzi, your request seems a bit difficult. It's not like you don't know what kind of person Wu Kadi is. Even if he was wrong, he would never admit it. Water Spirit sneered. Since he won't admit it, then let's forget about today's matter. I'll admit that I was unlucky about Kikyaman's matter. Wu Kadi can forget about getting my equipment. Let's go our separate ways. Shadowless heard this and became anxious. Water Spirit, how can you do this? We already agreed on this matter. How can you go back on your words? Shadowless paused for a bit before continuing. Water Spirit, if you give up on this mission, I'm afraid you won't be able to do anything when you go back. In my opinion, we should prioritize peace and settle this matter perfectly. This is the best way, and we shouldn't go our separate ways. Hearing this, Shui Lingzi turned to look at Shadowless and coldly said, Shadowless, you saw it just now. Wu Kadi didn't even greet me before suddenly attacking me. If I didn't dodge fast enough, I'm afraid I wouldn't have survived that attack. Now that I think about it, I'm still scared. He really wanted to kill me. Wu Kadi's attack was clearly seen by Shadowless. Wu Kadi's attack was indeed a surprise attack. Not only that, but his moves were also very sharp. If it was an ordinary person, they would have been killed by this move. Hearing Shui Lingzi's question, Shadowless was speechless and turned to look at Wu Kadi. On the other side, Li Mingshan and Wu Kadi were also discussing this matter. Wu Kadi, what are you thinking? We're about to get the equipment, and it's all your fault. If you didn't go crazy and attack Shui Lingzi, things wouldn't be this bad. Hearing this, Wu Kadi sneered, Li Mingshan, you don't need to scold me. It's not like you didn't sneak attack Shui Lingzi. What right do you have to scold me? Hearing this, Li Mingshan angrily said, That's not the same. I know and stop. I'm not as reckless as you. Hearing this, Wu Kadi turned to Li Mingshan and sneered. Reckless? You said I'm reckless? Li Mingshan, I saw that you weren't slow either. How can you say I'm reckless now? Do you think I didn't see that when you attacked? If Shui Lingzi wasn't prepared, she would have already been killed by you. How can you say I'm reckless? Hearing Wu Kadi's words, Li Mingshan gritted his teeth and took a deep breath before slowly saying, Wu Kadi, no matter what we did just now, we won't mention it again. Speaking up to here, Li Mingshan paused for a bit before continuing. From now on, none of us can sneak attack Shui Lingzi. We need to get the equipment as soon as possible. Hearing this, Wu Kadi suddenly sighed. Li Mingshan, you think I don't want to? But things have already come to this point. What can I do? Speaking up to here, Wu Kadi turned to look at Li Mingshan. After pondering for a moment, he slowly said, Li Mingshan, there are no outsiders here, so I'll be frank. I'll use 2 pieces of level 20 equipment to exchange for that level 25 equipment of Yin Dao. What do you think? Hearing Wu Kadi's words, Li Mingshan froze for a moment. After reacting, he immediately shook his head and flatly refused. No, I definitely won't agree. Speaking up to here, Li Mingshan paused for a bit. He turned to look at Wu Kadi and suddenly sneered before continuing. Wu Kadi, if you're willing, I also want to use 2 pieces of level 20 equipment to exchange for your level 25 equipment. I don't know if you'll agree or not. Hearing this, Wu Kadi pondered for a moment before slowly saying, Li Mingshan, I know this is very unfair to you. Just tell me, if I want that level 25 equipment, what kind of price do I have to pay? Then you can give it to me. Hearing Wu Kadi's words, Li Mingshan sneered in his heart. You want to exchange for my level 25 equipment? You're dreaming. After being in Jianghu for so many years, Li Mingshan could count the number of times he had seen level 25 equipment. Not to mention, this level 25 equipment was about to become his. Li Mingshan felt a burst of excitement when he thought of this. Li Mingshan took a deep breath and forcefully suppressed his somewhat chaotic emotions. He slowly shook his head. Wu Kadi, you also know how high level 25 equipment is. If it were you, would you exchange it with someone else? Hearing this, Wu Kadi shook his head. I wouldn't. I would wear this level 25 equipment every day. Even at night, I wouldn't take it off. Hearing Wu Kadi's answer, Li Mingshan once again sneered. Wu Kadi, you think so too? Don't tell me you think I wouldn't do that. Hearing this, Wu Kadi shook his head and suddenly sighed. Water spirit, the 2 of us aren't silver knives. We have our own thoughts, and we also have a sense of safety. We should know how to protect ourselves. At this point, Wu Kadi paused for a moment before continuing, but if the 2 of us really have this level 25 equipment, will it really be able to protect both of us? Hearing Wu Kadi's words, Li Mingshan's expression suddenly changed. He asked in a low voice, Wu Kadi, what do you mean by that? Wu Kadi shook his head. Li Mingshan, I don't mean anything. I just want to tell you that even if we have this level 25 equipment, I'm afraid it won't give us a sense of safety. Chapter 567. Wu Kadi sighed and continued. This level 25 equipment with super strong defense doesn't seem to be able to bring us safety. Instead, it'll bring us danger. Wu Kadi paused for a moment before continuing. Li Mingshan, our martial arts can barely be considered average in the South County. There are many people whose martial arts are above us. Think about it. If we have this level 25 equipment, we'll be in a lot of trouble. At this point, Wu Kadi sighed again. There are many experts who are more powerful than us. If they really want to snatch this equipment, I'm afraid it won't be long before news of us being killed spread in the underworld. Li Mingshan, think about it. Is it worth it for us to do all this for this equipment? After hearing Wu Kadi's words, Li Mingshan couldn't help but frown. He had to admit that what Wu Kadi said was true. Although the defense of a level 25 equipment was very strong, if someone with their level of martial arts were to wear this equipment, there would be many people who would be jealous. When that time came, it would only be a matter of time before the equipment was stolen. If they were lucky, they would only be robbed of the equipment. If they were unlucky, it wouldn't be as simple as just the equipment. They might even lose their lives. This was the truth. When the opponent stole the equipment, in order to hide their tracks and prevent others from finding out that they were the ones who stole the equipment, they would definitely kill the person who had the equipment to hide their tracks. It wasn't that Li Mingshan hadn't considered this before. However, the level 25 equipment was about to be in his hands. At this moment, he was only thinking about the benefits of the level 25 equipment. He automatically ignored the disadvantages of the level 25 equipment. Now that he was reminded by Wu Kadi, this thought immediately surged from the bottom of his heart and filled his mind in an instant. At this moment, Li Mingshan's mind was filled with thoughts of how much danger he would be in after obtaining the level 25 equipment. After a while, Li Mingshan took a deep breath and completely dispelled this thought. He then looked up at Wu Kadi and slowly said, Wu Kadi, you're right. Wu Kadi, you're right. Possessing this level 25 equipment might bring about a disaster. However, if there's no chance to obtain level 25 equipment, it's fine. But if there's a chance to obtain level 25 equipment, I think everyone will want to try to obtain it. Hearing this, Wu Kadi sighed. Li Mingshan, it is because of your thoughts that there are always those inhumane things happening in the underworld. You should wake up. This equipment will not bring you any good. I can guarantee that it will only bring you disaster. Just give it up. After hearing Wu Kadi's words, Li Mingshan pondered for a moment before suddenly asking, Wu Kadi, I admit that you're right. However, since our martial arts are similar and our status in the South County is similar, can you keep this level 25 equipment if I can't? Wu Kadi shook his head with a bitter smile. Li Mingshan, you're right. The two of us are about the same. In the South County, whether it's martial arts or status, we're about the same. It's a bad thing for you to get this level 25 equipment, and it's not a good thing for me to get this level 25 equipment either. After hearing Wu Kadi's words, Li Mingshan was stunned. He asked in confusion, Wu Kadi, if you know that it will bring you disaster, why do you still want this level 25 equipment? Wu Kadi shook his head. Even if you agree to give it to me, I won't wear it. After saying this, Wu Kadi paused for a moment before continuing. Li Mingshan, I can tell you the truth. I want to use this level 25 equipment to exchange for something better. After hearing Wu Kadi's words, Li Mingshan suddenly sneered. Wu Kadi, if that's the case, you've gotten a great deal. You've earned this equipment from me and then sold it to someone else for more benefits. Isn't that a bit disloyal? Wu Kadi shook his head. Li Mingshan, you're wrong. No matter what I do, I'm not sure what equipment I'll be able to exchange for, but you can get what you want. Isn't that good? After hearing Wu Kadi's words, Li Mingshan shook his head. Wu Kadi, can I do something like this myself? Wu Kadi shook his head. Li Mingshan, I admit that your godly sword sect is powerful, but you don't necessarily have good information. You might not know what I know, so even if you want to exchange it for something, I'm afraid that this equipment won't be of much use in your hands. After hearing Wu Kadi's words, Li Mingshan was suddenly tempted. At this point, Li Mingshan suddenly realized that he couldn't keep this equipment in his hands. Otherwise, it might bring him disaster. The key was whether or not it was reliable to give this equipment to Wu Kadi. Thinking of this, Li Mingshan raised his head and looked at Wu Kadi. He smiled and asked, Wu Kadi, this equipment is very precious. I both know this. The key is, what can you give me in exchange? After hearing this, Wu Kadi nodded. I just said that I'll exchange those 2 level 20 equipment for your level 25 equipment. What do you think? Li Mingshan shook his head. Nothing. I'm at a disadvantage. You should change your conditions. After hearing this, Wu Kadi thought for a moment before slowly saying, Li Mingshan, how about this? I'll add a sword in exchange. What do you think? After hearing Wu Kadi's words, Li Mingshan was suddenly interested. He hurriedly asked, Wu Kadi, what sword? Wu Kadi smiled and said, I don't know what it's called. This is a sword I picked up. I saw that it was unusually sharp, so I kept it. If you like it, I can give it to you. After hearing Wu Kadi's words, Li Mingshan hurriedly asked again, Wu Kadi, have you tried it? What level is this sword? After hearing Li Mingshan's words, Wu Kadi was stunned for a moment. He then shook his head. I don't know, but I think it should be above level 10. Above level 10. After hearing this, Li Mingshan repeated this sentence. He then shook his head in disappointment. Wu Kadi's words were vague, and he didn't accurately state the level of the saber. Above level 10, there were many meanings in this. A level 19 equipment could be above level 10. A level 11 equipment could be above level 10. If Wu Kadi said that the equipment was level 19, then Li Mingshan wouldn't hesitate to give it to him. Don't underestimate a level 19 sword. It was probably more useful than a level 20 equipment. Chapter 568. Li Shanshan looked up at Wu Kadi and asked with a smile, Wu Kadi, can you be more specific? What level is that saber of yours? After hearing Li Mingshan's words, Wu Kadi shook his head. I don't know, but it should be level 15 or 16. After hearing Wu Kadi's words, Li Mingshan shook his head. Your saber's level is too low. If I trade with you, wouldn't I lose out? Wu Kadi shook his head. Li Shan, how could you lose out? Don't forget, there's still the 2 level 20 equipment. Li Shan shook his head. No, I'm losing out. If you can use a level 19 or 20 sword, we can trade, but a level 15 or 16 sword, I definitely won't trade. At this moment, Shadowless walked up to Silver Sword and said with a smile, Brother Silver Sword, why don't you trade your level 25 equipment with me? Shadowless paused for a moment before continuing. Brother Silver Sword, what do you want to trade? Just tell me, and I'll find a way to fulfill your conditions. Hearing Shadowless's question, Silver Knife shook his head. I've already prepared to exchange my level 25 equipment with our Lord Protector for a spiritual medicine to increase my strength. Shadowless nodded. So you need a spiritual medicine. That's fine. I can do it for you. Brother Silver Sword, I can find the best spiritual medicine for you. Shadowless paused for a moment and moved closer to Silver Sword, lowering his voice. Brother Silver Sword, don't worry. The spiritual medicine I can find for you will definitely be much better than what they gave you. Hearing Shadowless's words, Dao's eyes lit up. Really? Can you really find a better elixir? Shadowless nodded. Of course. You don't have to doubt this. If you don't believe me, you could trade with me and you'll understand. Hearing Shadowless's words, Silver Blade nodded in agreement. Although Wu Kadi and Li Shan said they would find him a good spiritual medicine, Silver Sword didn't know what kind of spiritual medicine it was. Thinking of this, Silver Sword looked up at Li Shan and asked loudly, Lord Protector, what kind of spiritual medicine can you trade for my equipment? Li Shan, who was negotiating with Wu Kadi, suddenly heard Silver Knife's question and couldn't help but be stunned. Then, he turned his head to look at Shadowless and felt a little annoyed. Li Shan was sure that Silver Sword's question had something to do with Shadowless. Seeing that Li Shan didn't answer him, Silver Sword asked again, Lord Protector, I want to know, what kind of spiritual medicine can you trade for my level 25 equipment? Hearing Dao's second question, Li Shan immediately smiled. Dao, what's wrong? You don't even believe in Lord Protector? At this point, Li Shan paused and quickly thought about it before continuing, Dao, don't worry. You are a disciple of our Godly Knife sect. No matter what, our Godly Knife sect will not treat you unfairly. Hearing Li Mingshan's reply, Silver Knife was stunned for a moment. He then asked again, Lord Protector, Shadowless said that he would give me better spiritual herbs in exchange for my level 25 equipment. I want to use your spiritual herbs to compare with his spiritual herbs. Let's see whose spiritual herbs are of higher quality, and I'll give the equipment to him. Hearing Silver Knife's words, Li Shan was furious. He cursed Shadowless for being shameless in his heart, but there was nothing he could do. He could only force a smile. Dao, why would you listen to Shadowless? Don't forget that you're a disciple of the Godly Blade sect. Is the Godly Blade sect inferior to Shadowless? After hearing Li Mingshan's words, Dao shook his head. Lord Protector, you'd better tell me. Otherwise, I'll be a bit worried. Seeing that Dao's eyes were already a bit scattered, Li Mingshan knew that Dao's mind was already somewhat abnormal. If Dao was normal, he would definitely not say such words. Thinking of this, Li Mingshan thought for a moment, then slowly said, Dao, since you want to know, then I'll tell you. Speaking up to this point, Li Mingshan paused for a moment, then continued, Dao, if you're willing, we can use the strength-increasing pill that our sect has meticulously refined to exchange for your level 25 equipment. What do you think? Hearing Li Mingshan's words, Dao's eyes suddenly lit up. As a disciple of the Godly Blade sect, Dao had naturally heard of the name Strength-Increasing Pill. Strength-Increasing Pill. As long as it was consumed, it would increase the user's strength for 3 days. Of course, strength-increasing pills were divided into different grades from level 1 to level 5. Level 1 strength-increasing pill could increase the user's strength by 5 years. Level 2 strength-increasing pill could increase the user's strength by 10 years. Level X strength-increasing pill could increase the user's strength by 15 years. Level 4 Strength Increasing Pill could increase the user's strength by 20 years. Level 5 Strength Increasing Pill could increase the user's strength by 25 years. The 5 types of strength-increasing pills had different effects, so naturally, the quality was also different. Level 1 Strength-Increasing Pill was the most common and also the most used. Level 2 Strength-Increasing Pills were restricted. Even the talented disciples of the Godly Blade sect, who were able to receive the Godly Blade sect's special training, were only given Level 1 Strength-Increasing Pills. If one wanted to obtain a Level 2 Strength-Increasing Pill, one would not be able to obtain it without a great contribution or with a heaven-defying talent. Especially the Level 5 Strength-Increasing Pill, it could be said that in the entire Godly Blade sect there was only one. In the Godly Blade sect, a small figure like Dao had only heard of strength-increasing pills, and as for using them, he had only heard of it from others. After hearing Li Mingshan's words, Dao's heart was suddenly filled with joy, and he quickly asked, "Lord Protector, is it true? Can you really give me a strength-increasing pill?" Li Mingshan smiled and nodded. "Dao, don't worry. After hearing about your level 25 equipment, I will definitely give you a strength-increasing pill." One strength-increasing pill? After hearing Li Mingshan's words, Dao's eyes quickly dimmed, and the smile on his face also disappeared. After a while, he glared at Li Mingshan and said with some annoyance, "Lord Protector, why is there only one strength-increasing pill?" Hearing Dao's question, Li Mingshan was somewhat unhappy, but he could only force a smile and said, "Dao, you have been in the Godly Blade sect for so long. Don't you know how precious a strength-increasing pill is? How can there be so many of such precious items? To be able to exchange for one strength-increasing pill for you is already a very difficult matter." Speaking up to this point, Li Mingshan's tone paused, and then he continued, "Dao, as a disciple of the Godly Blade sect, you should know that being able to exchange for one strength-increasing pill is already very good. As a person, one must be content and grateful." Chapter 569. Hearing Li Shanshan's words, Silverknife paused for a moment, then nodded. "Lord Protector, I've learned my lesson. I'm already satisfied with a level 5 strength increasing pill." Silverknife paused for a moment, then continued. "Lord Protector, I heard that our sect only has one level 5 strength increasing pill. If that's the case, then I won't make things difficult for you. Give me that level 5 strength increasing pill in exchange for my level 25 elixir." After hearing Dao's words, Li Shanshan was stunned. After a while, he reacted. He didn't say anything, so he picked his ears and asked, "Silverknife, what did you just say?" Seeing that Li Shanshan didn't understand what he said, Silverknife opened his mouth again. "Lord Protector, I said, give me that level 5 strength increasing pill." "No." Hearing Silverknife's words, Li Shanshan didn't even think about it and immediately rejected. What kind of joke was this? The huge Godly Knife faction only had one level 5 strength increasing pill. Not to mention the disciples of the faction. Even the Godly Knife faction's faction master did not dare to use it lightly. One could only imagine how precious this level 5 strength increasing pill was. It could be said that a level 5 strength boosting pill was far more valuable and useful than a level 25 equipment. Level 25 equipment only increased one's defense, but the level 5 strength boosting pill could directly increase the user's strength for 25 years. This was a real increase in the user's strength, unlike level 25 equipment, which only increased the user's external defense. 25 years of power. How many 25 years did a person have? Now, this Silverknife, who didn't know the immensity of heaven and earth, must be dreaming. Wanted to use that level 25 equipment to exchange for that level 5 strength increasing pill. Seeing that Li Shanshan's eyes were about to spit fire, Silverknife was confused and quickly asked, "Lord Protector, was my offer too low?" Haha. Before Li Shanshan could answer, Silverknife had just finished his words when Shadowless, who was standing at the side, started laughing. Hearing Shadowless's laughter, Li Mingshan only felt that it was very harsh. He turned his head and glared at Shadowless, asking coldly, "Shadowless, what are you laughing at? What's so funny? Tell us and make us happy." Hearing Li Shan's cold question, Shadowless didn't dare to laugh anymore. He quickly lowered his head and tried to hold back his laughter. "No, I didn't laugh. I just felt that my throat was a little itchy. I just want to clear my throat. I didn't laugh, really. Li Mingshan, you guys continue. I won't disturb you." After saying this, Shadowless quickly turned his head and no longer looked at Li Mingshan. Hearing Shadowless's explanation, Li Mingshan sneered, "Really? I thought you were laughing at me." Hearing this, Shadowless hurriedly waved his hand. "Li Mingshan, what are you talking about? Why would I laugh at you? I really wasn't laughing." Seeing that Shadowless kept waving his hand and trying to hold back his laughter, Li Mingshan almost exploded in anger. He turned his head and looked at Silver Knife angrily, but he saw that Silver Knife was looking at him with a blank face. Seeing Silver Knife's expression, Li Mingshan was stunned. At this moment, Silver Knife's face was blank, especially his eyes. Although they were wide open, but at this moment, one was bigger than the other, and the other was smaller. Even his eyes didn't seem to be in their original position, forming a strange look. Seeing this scene, Li Shan sighed. He took a step towards Silver Blade and slowly said, "Silver Knife, do you know how long that level 5 strength increasing pill has been in the Godly Knife sect?" Silver Knife shook his head. "I don't know." Li Shan slowly said, "It's been 30 years. That level 5 strength enhancing pill has been in the Godly Knife sect for 30 years. However, because this strength-enhancing pill is too precious, no one dares to use it." Speaking up to here, Li Mingshan paused for a moment before continuing. Everyone, including the Godly Knife sect's leader, didn't dare to suggest using it because this strength-increasing pill is too important. As long as you take it, you can increase your strength by 25 years. Especially when there is a strong enemy like the Sky Sword sect, you can't use it easily. If there is a battle between the two sects, perhaps this strength-increasing pill can change the situation and become the key to victory. So, until now, no one dares to suggest using this strength-increasing pill. Speaking up to here, Li Mingshan looked at Silver Knife and slowly asked, "Silver Knife, do you understand what I'm saying?" Hearing Li Mingshan's question, Silver Knife nodded. "Lord Protector, I understand what you mean, and I also understand the value of this strength-increasing pill." Seeing that Silver Knife understood, Li Mingshan let out a long sigh of relief. A smile returned to his face as he slowly said, "Silver Knife, I really didn't misjudge you. You are a reasonable person." Hearing Li Mingshan's words, Silver Knife also smiled. "Lord Protector, don't worry. As long as I, Silver Knife, eat this level 5 strength increasing pill and increase my strength, I will definitely be able to defeat the Sky Sword sect. Our Godly Knife sect will become the strongest sect in the South region. Lord Protector, I know you want me to do this, so I will definitely not let you down." Looking at Silver Knife's big and small eyes, Li Mingshan was so angry that his heart was trembling. After talking for so long, Silver Knife said that he understood. However, what did he understand? He clearly didn't understand anything. Although the Godly Knife sect was powerful, how could the Sky Sword sect be underestimated? The two sects have been fighting for so many years. Although there were wins and losses, Li Mingshan knew that the Godly Knife sect had lost more times. To be honest, the Godly Knife sect's strength might really be a bit weaker than the Sky Sword sect's. Li Mingshan knew very well that although he had told every disciple of the Godly Saber sect that the Godly Saber sect was the strongest and invincible in the South County, he knew in his heart that those were just slogans. If the two sects really fought, it was not certain who would win. Now, Silver Knife, this unranked disciple, actually wanted to rely on a level 5 strength increasing pill to defeat the famous Sky Sword sect. This was no longer a dream. It was a fantasy. As long as one was a normal person, they wouldn't even have such a dream. If it was really that simple, Then as long as the sect master of the Godly Knife sect took this level 5 strength increasing pill, wouldn't he immediately become invincible? Looking at the confident Silver Knife, Li Mingshan couldn't help but ask, Silver Knife, do you think that you could defeat the Sky Sword sect just because you took that level 5 strength increasing pill? Hearing Li Mingshan's question, Silver Knife smiled proudly. Lord Protector, didn't you just say that although my talent is not good, I am hard-working, strong, and persevering? Speaking up to here, Silver Knife paused for a moment before continuing, with my advantages and that level 5 strength increasing pill. Chapter 570. Yin Dao continued. Lord Protector, as long as I take that strength increasing pill, my strength will naturally increase greatly. At that time, I believe that no one will be my match. The rise of the Godly Knife sect will only be a matter of time. When the Godly Knife sect becomes the #1 sect in the South region, even without that strength-increasing pill, there will be no problem. Li Shanshan stared at Yin Dao blankly. He did not know how to tell him that a strength-increasing pill alone would not solve any problems. After a while, Li Shanshan finally gave up on this idea. Yin Dao had already gone crazy and was living in his own fantasy. No matter how much he tried to persuade him, it would be useless. Thinking of this, Li Shanshan nodded. Yin Dao, good job. I was not wrong about you. The future of the Godly Knife sect depends on you. Yin Dao nodded solemnly. Don't worry, Lord Protector. As long as I, Yin Dao, am here, there will be no problem. After hearing Yin Dao's words, Li Shanshan smiled and said, Good, then it's settled. I will be responsible for exchanging your level 25 equipment for that level 5 strength increasing pill. Then, you will join the Wu clan and become the disciple of the Wu clan successor. This matter is settled. Yin Dao, what do you think? After hearing Li Shanshan's words, Yin Dao nodded and laughed. Lord Protector, when my strength increases greatly and I become the head of the Wu clan, I will definitely repay you. Just as Yin Dao's words fell, Wu Kadi could not hold it in anymore and shouted, No, I don't agree. After hearing Wu Kadi's words, Yin Dao immediately turned his head and looked at him unhappily. Wu Kadi, what do you mean by this? Yin Dao paused for a moment before continuing. Wu Kadi, I have already agreed to join your Wu clan. What are you still not satisfied with? After hearing Yin Dao's words, Wu Kadi flew into a rage. However, after thinking about it, he suppressed the anger in his heart and pretended to be calm as he said, Brother Yin Dao, I am very satisfied. However, the Godly Knife sect exchanged the elixir with you. I think you have suffered a loss. After hearing Wu Kadi's words, Yin Dao's eyes lit up. Wu Kadi, do you have a better pill? Wu Kadi hurriedly nodded his head. Indeed I do. If the Godly Knife sect strength-boosting pill is compared to my spiritual herbs, they're definitely not on the same level. Yin Dao asked in surprise. Really? Wu Kadi, you're not lying to me? Wu Kadi smiled and shook his head, but he was sneering in his heart. He could tell that Li Shanshan was just bragging. He had heard of the Godly Sword faction's strength-increasing pill. It was the highest level of elixir in the Godly Sword faction. It was not something a level 25 equipment could compare to. It was impossible to exchange a level 25 equipment for a level 5 strength-boosting pill. Wu Kadi knew that even if Li Shanshan agreed, it would not work. Because even if he wanted to use it, the Godly Knife sect's patriarch would not agree, let alone a small silver knife. Yin Dao's martial arts talent was not good enough. Even if he ate the level 5 strength increasing pill, it would not be of much use other than wasting the elixir. Thinking of this, Wu Kadi smiled and said, Brother Yin Dao, I heard that the Godly Knife sect's level 5 strength increasing pill can increase one's martial arts by 25 years. Am I right? Hearing Wu Kadi's words, Yin Dao hurriedly nodded his head. It is indeed so. That level 5 strength increasing pill can indeed increase one's martial arts by 25 years. It is also a rare item. Wu Kadi shook his head. Although the strength increasing pill is very good, Brother Yin Dao, If you want to rely on just one strength-increasing pill to increase your strength, I'm afraid it is not enough. Therefore, Brother Dao, you need better spiritual herbs to maximize your martial arts. Hearing Wu Kadi's words, Dao was both surprised and happy. He hurriedly asked, Wu Kadi, does your Wu clan have such a good item? Wu Kadi nodded his head. Of course we do. Speaking of this, Wu Kadi paused for a moment before continuing. With Brother Dao's character, in addition to your hard work and perseverance, just one strength-increasing pill is indeed not enough. If you eat our Wu clan's 1,000-year-old ginseng, it will definitely increase your strength by leaps and bounds. If you can completely absorb the medicinal power of this 1,000-year-old ginseng, then it will only be a matter of time before you become the #1 person in the South region. 1,000-year-old ginseng? Hearing Wu Kadi's words, Dao felt his heart beating rapidly. Although his mind was no longer normal, the name 1,000-year-old ginseng still existed in his memory. Dao calmed himself down and asked softly, Wu Kadi, does your Wu clan really have 1,000-year-old ginseng? Wu Kadi nodded his head. Yes, this 1,000-year-old ginseng is our Wu clan's main treasure. It can be said that ordinary people have never seen it before. You can imagine how precious this 1,000-year-old ginseng is. Dao was overjoyed when he heard this and quickly asked, if the 1,000-year-old ginseng is so precious, then will your clan members not agree to exchange it with my equipment? Hearing Dao's words, Wu Kadi hurriedly waved his hand and said with a smile, No, Brother Dao, you're young and promising. If our Wu clan can nurture you, then it will be our honor. What is a mere 1,000-year-old ginseng? Hearing Wu Kadi's words, Dao was immediately relieved. He immediately stepped forward and patted Wu Kadi's shoulder. He laughed and said, Wu Kadi, as long as I eat this 1,000-year-old ginseng, my strength will definitely increase greatly. At that time, with my strength, I will definitely become the Wu clan's patriarch. Speaking of this, Dao paused for a moment before continuing. Wu Kadi, I will definitely not forget you. When I become the Wu clan's patriarch, I will promote you to be the next patriarch. What do you think? Hearing Dao's words, Wu Kadi felt like vomiting. He took a deep breath and barely suppressed this feeling. Wu Kadi turned his head to look at Dao and said with a smile, Brother Dao, you really are a good person. You have ambition. To be honest, it is because of your ambition that I want to help you. Hearing Wu Kadi's words, Dao's heart suddenly felt proud. Although his talent was not good, who dared to risk their lives like him? In order to obtain that level 25 equipment, Dao was willing to risk his life. Now, his efforts had finally borne fruit. Looking at the people in front of him that he had to look up to, Dao suddenly felt that they had all become shorter. After he ate that 1,000-year-old ginseng, he would become the Wu clan's patriarch with his strength. At that time, he would become an existence that these people looked up to. Thinking of this, Dao felt a surge of passion in his heart, causing his heartbeat to speed up. His dream was finally about to come true. Chapter 571. Looking at the arrogance on Dao's face, Wu Kadi sneered in his heart. If he couldn't even deal with a madman, wouldn't he be a joke? Brother Dao, I know you're talented, hard-working, and have more perseverance than ordinary people. As long as you take the 1,000-year-old ginseng, you can definitely become the head of the Wu family. I believe in you. You can definitely do it. Hearing Wu Kadi's words, Dao nodded and said proudly, Wu Kadi, don't worry. I can definitely do it. Wu Kadi suddenly sighed. Brother Dao, it should be easy for you to become the patriarch of the Wu clan. However, could it be that you can only be the patriarch of the Wu clan because of your high level of martial arts? Speaking of this, Wu Kadi paused for a moment before continuing. Brother Dao, you're very talented. If you take the 1,000-year-old ginseng, you'll have super high martial arts. I think a young man like you should have a bright future. We can't delay your future because of our Wu family. Otherwise, I won't be able to live with myself. Hearing Wu Kadi's words, Dao's eyes lit up. He turned to look at Wu Kadi and asked with a smile, Wu Kadi, do you have any good ideas? Wu Kadi smiled and nodded. Brother Dao, which sect do you think is the biggest in the South County? Dao thought for a moment before hesitantly saying, I think it should be the Godly Knife sect or the Sky Sword sect. These two sects should be the biggest in the South County. Hearing Dao's answer, Wu Kadi nodded. That's right. The Godly Knife sect and the Sky Sword sect are very powerful. They can be considered the biggest sects in the South County. Speaking of this, Wu Kadi paused for a moment before continuing. Between these two sects, in my opinion, the Sky Sword sect is a bit weaker than the Godly Knife sect. Therefore, the Godly Knife sect is the biggest sect in the South County. Brother Dao, don't you think so? Dao nodded. That's right, it should be so. The Godly Knife sect is very powerful. I think the Sky Sword sect is definitely not their match. When Wu Kadi heard this, he continued, the Godly Knife sect is the largest sect in the South region, and the Silver Knife brothers are rare geniuses in the world. I think that only the position of sect master of the Godly Knife sect is worthy of the Silver Knife brothers. Our Wu family is just a small sect. Compared to the Godly Saber sect, we are simply insignificant. With our strength, we are definitely not worthy of the Silver Saber brothers. Wu Kadi paused for a moment before he continued. Therefore, I believe that the Godly Knife sect is the most suitable place for Brother Dao. After hearing Wu Kadi's words, Dao gradually frowned. After quite a while, he revealed a wisp of a smile as he raised his head to look at Wu Kadi and nodded with a smile. Wu Kadi, you are right. With my martial arts, I can only be the patriarch of the Wu clan. It is indeed a waste of talent. After saying this, Dao paused for a moment before he took a deep breath and continued. Therefore, I have decided to use my level 25 equipment to exchange for the 1,000-year ginseng. After saying this, Dao turned to look at Li Shan. Lord Protector, please help me become the disciple of the sixth disciple of the Godly Knife sect, so that I can become the sect master of the Godly Knife sect as soon as possible. After hearing Dao and Wu Kadi's words, Li Shan sneered in his heart. All right, since everyone is so shameless, then let's hurt each other. Thinking of this, Li Shan turned to look at Dao and smiled. Dao, I am very happy that you have such thoughts. With your talent, I think that you can really achieve your goal. After saying this, Li Shan paused for a moment before he continued. Dao, do you know why the Godly Knife sect and the Sky Sword sect are always fighting? Hearing Li Shan's question, Dao was stunned for a moment before he shook his head and asked, Lord Protector, I heard that many years ago there was a grudge between the leaders of the two sections. That is why they have been fighting for so many years. I don't know if this is true or not. Li Shan smiled and shook his head. Dao, I can tell you clearly that this kind of thing is not true because it is not important. After saying this, Li Shan paused for a moment before he suddenly sneered and continued. The most important thing is territory. Dao, do you understand? It is territory. The Sky Sword sect and the Godly Knife sect have been fighting for so many years mainly because of the territory controlled by the two sections. Whoever has the largest territory can become the biggest sect in the South region. Who doesn't want this kind of glory? The Sky Sword sect and the Godly Knife sect's leaders both want this kind of glory. That is why they are desperately training their martial arts to defeat each other and seize more territory. Dao, do you understand now? Dao nodded. I understand. They're fighting for territory. Li Shan turned his head to look at Dao and said with a smile, you should not be interested in their games. You should be challenging a higher level of difficulty. Dao's eyes suddenly lit up when he heard this. He asked in a trembling voice, Lord Protector, are you saying that I should have greater achievements than them? Li Shan nodded and said slowly, Wu Kadi is right. The Wu family is indeed a small sect. However, if you can lead the Wu family to become the biggest sect in the South region, wouldn't you have greater achievements than the Godly Knife sect and the Sky Sword sect? Dao, tell me, am I right? After listening to Li Shan's words, Wu Kadi sneered in his heart. If things were really that simple, the Wu family would have become the biggest sect in the South region. However, Wu Kedi also knew that Li Shanshan was talking nonsense. He was too lazy to refute him. He just silently thought in his heart about how to do more than what Li Shanshan said. Yin Dao's heart beat faster when he heard Li Shanshan's words. He began to imagine himself leading the Wu family to defeat the Sky Sword sect and the Godly Knife sect and become the biggest sect in the South region. No one in the South region could compare to this kind of glory. However, even though Yin Dao was crazy, he knew that it would not be easy. This was because he had never thought about it before. Yin Dao turned to look at Li Shanshan and asked tentatively, "Lord Protector, can I really lead the Wu family to become the biggest sect in the South region?" Li Shanshan nodded. "Yin Dao, you have personal aptitude, superhuman diligence, and indomitable perseverance. Speaking of this," Li Shanshan paused and continued, "of course, with our Godly Knife sect's elixir, Marrow Cleansing Pill, you can definitely accomplish this great feat." Marrow Cleansing Pill? Yin Dao was stunned when he heard this name. He looked at Li Shanshan with some confusion. "Lord Protector, what is Marrow Cleansing Pill? What is it? Can it increase my power?" Chapter 572. Hearing Yin Dao's question, Li Shanshan smiled and said, "The Marrow Cleansing Pill is an important treasure of the Godly Knife sect. It can raise the martial arts aptitude of the user by a level, increasing the talent of a martial artist." Yin Dao was both surprised and happy when he heard this. "Lord Protector, is this true? Can it really raise my martial arts aptitude?" Li Shanshan nodded. "Yin Dao, why would I lie to you?" Speaking up to this point, Li Shanshan paused for a moment before continuing. "Yin Dao, as long as you take the Divine Knife faction's Marrow Cleansing Pill, your power will definitely increase. At that time, you will definitely lead the Wu clan to glory." Yin Dao was most worried about his martial arts aptitude. Now that this problem was solved, he was overjoyed. He felt as if he was floating in the clouds. It felt unreal. "Lord Protector, can I really exchange my level 25 equipment for this Marrow Cleansing Pill?" Li Shanshan nodded. "Yes, Yin Dao. As long as you want to exchange, I will help you fulfill your wish." Hearing this, Yin Dao turned to look at Wu Kedi and said with a smile, "Wu Kedi, since it's like this, then it's settled. I'll use that level 25 equipment to exchange for the Marrow Cleansing Pill with Lord Protector. Then, I'll join your Wu family and make your Wu family the #1 sect in the South region. Wu Kedi, are you satisfied with this?" Hearing this, Wu Kedi sneered in his heart, but there was no change in his expression. He smiled and said, "Yin Dao, your idea is very good. I thank you on behalf of the Wu family." Speaking up to this point, Wu Kedi paused for a moment before continuing. "However, I feel that with your aptitude, becoming the successor of the Wu family is a waste of talent. So, I think it's best for you to fight for the Godly Knife sect's position. That is the best choice." Hearing Wu Kedi's words, Yin Dao shook his head. "Wu Kedi, didn't you hear what I just said to Lord Protector? Only by leading the weak Wu family to become the #1 sect in the South region can I prove my strength." At this point, Yin Dao paused for a moment before continuing. "Wu Kedi, don't tell me you don't want to. I gave up my position as the sect master of the Godly Knife sect and went to your small Wu clan to be the successor. Do you have any complaints?" After hearing Yin Dao's words, Wu Kedi was furious. This brat Yin Dao actually dared to belittle the Wu clan. This was unforgivable. However, Wu Kedi also knew that he couldn't argue with Silver Saber because Silver Saber was a madman. If he argued with Silver Saber, then wouldn't he become a madman as well? Thinking of this, Wu Kedi took a deep breath, suppressed the anger in his heart, and said slowly, "Yin Dao, I understand your good intentions. I am also very grateful to you. However, I cannot let your good intentions hinder your future." Speaking of this, Wu Kedi paused for a moment before continuing. "Yin Dao, do you know how big this world is? Do you know how wonderful the world is other than the South County? Yin Dao, with your ability, you should have a broader stage. If your life is only to lead the Wu clan to become the largest sect in the South County, then wouldn't it be a waste of your time?" Speaking of this, Wu Kadi turned to look at Dao and said with a smile, Dao, our Wu clan cannot delay your future because of our own reasons. Otherwise, our Wu clan will regret it for the rest of our lives. After hearing Wu Kadi's words, Dao was stunned for a moment before saying, Wu Kadi, do you have a better idea? Wu Kadi nodded, of course. Dao, if you can become the sect master of the Godly Knife sect, then you can lead the people of the Godly Knife sect out of the South County and explore more worlds. Isn't that better than wasting so much time in the South County? After hearing Wu Kadi's words, Dao was overjoyed. However, he immediately shook his head. Wu Kadi, I can't. I haven't been anywhere other than the South County. Even if I become the sect master of the Godly Knife sect, I'm afraid I can't complete this mission. Hearing this, Wu Kadi laughed. Dao, think about it. If you become the sect master of the Godly Knife sect, do you still need to do these things? Speaking of this, Wu Kadi paused for a moment before continuing. For example, Li Mingshan and his brother. You can let them explore the outside world. After they finish exploring, you can lead the people of the Godly Knife sect to occupy these places. Isn't this killing two birds with one stone? Dao was stunned for a moment before laughing. Wu Kadi, you're right. Even if I'm not familiar with the places outside the South County, there will always be places I'm familiar with. As long as I let them go, this matter will naturally be done. Wu Kadi nodded. Dao, you're right. Otherwise, what's the point of having so many subordinates? Speaking of this, Wu Kadi paused. He turned to look at Dao before continuing. Dao, although this idea is good and correct, it would be a waste to exchange your level 25 equipment for a marrow cleansing pill. I think you should use this level 25 equipment to exchange for something of a higher level. Hearing Wu Kadi's words, Dao was overjoyed. He quickly asked, Wu Kadi, do you have something better? Hearing this, Wu Kadi proudly nodded. Of course. Our Wu family relies on this to make a living. If we don't have something good, then we won't even be able to eat. Dao quickly asked, Wu Kadi, what is it? Hurry up and tell me. If it's really good, then I'll use my level 25 equipment to exchange for it. Wu Kadi nodded and smiled. Dao, have you heard of the Great Revitalizing Pill? Hearing Wu Kadi's words, Dao blankly shook his head. I've never heard of it. Wu Kadi smiled and explained, the Great Revitalizing Pill is one of the most miraculous pills in the world. As long as you eat the Great Revitalizing Pill, you can immediately increase your cultivation by 50 years. Dao, don't you think it's amazing? 50 years of cultivation? Hearing Wu Kadi's words, Dao immediately cried out in surprise. Wu Kadi, can the Great Revitalizing Pill really increase one's cultivation by 50 years? Wu Kadi nodded. Dao, I won't lie to you. You can ask anyone if the Great Revitalizing Pill can increase one's cultivation by 50 years. You'll naturally know if I'm lying to you. Hearing Wu Kadi's words, Dao was both surprised and happy. How long could a person live? But this Great Revitalizing Pill could actually increase one's cultivation by 50 years. This was simply a miracle. A person's lifespan was limited. Even if they started cultivating from a young age, if they wanted to obtain 50 years of cultivation, they would have to fight until they were 60 or 70 years old. Then, how many years would they have left to live? Chapter 573. Seeing that Dao was intoxicated and did not speak, Wu Kadi smiled and said, Dao, as long as you have this great recovery pill, I believe that with your ability, you'll be able to lead the Godly Knife sect out of the South County. You might even become the #1 sect in the world. Speaking of this, Wu Kadi paused for a moment before continuing. Dao, think about it. That's the world's #1 gang. If they can really achieve such an achievement, how proud would they be? After hearing Wu Kadi's words, Dao's heart was filled with a warm current that instantly rushed to his brain, making him excited. The #1 sect in the world. What a grand goal. The Godly Knife sect and the Sky Sword sect have been fighting for many years in the South County, but they were only fighting for the #1 sect in the South County. If he led the Godly Knife sect to become the #1 sect in the world, Wouldn't that be the highest glory? Thinking about this, Dao became more and more excited. The Sky Sword sect and the Godly Knife sect were still fighting for the #1 sect in the South County, while he was thinking about how to break out of the South County and become the #1 sect in the world. This was the gap between them. Thinking about this, Dao raised his head and looked at Wu Kadi. He smiled and said, Wu Kadi, your idea is not bad. If I were to become the head of your Wu family, it would be a waste of time. It would be better to become the head of the Godly Knife sect. This would save more time. At this point, Dao paused for a moment before continuing, Wu Kadi, I will definitely make the Godly Knife sect the #1 sect in the world. I will let the world remember me forever. It was me who created the #1 sect in the world. After hearing Dao's words, Wu Kadi immediately gave him a thumbs up and said with a smile, Dao, as expected of Dao, you have great ambitions. I was right about you. At this point, Wu Kadi paused for a moment before continuing, Dao, don't worry. I will do my best to help you achieve the great cause in your heart. I hope that you can lead the Godly Knife sect out of the South County and become the #1 sect in the world. After hearing Wu Kadi's words, Dao nodded with satisfaction and said with a smile, All right, Wu Kadi, don't worry. I won't let you down. I will lead the Godly Knife sect to become the #1 sect in the world. At that time, I will not forget your help. Wu Kadi chuckled and immediately cupped his hands towards Dao. Dao, thank you very much. Dao waved his hand. Wu Kadi, you don't have to be. I don't mind giving you some benefits. After hearing Silver Knife's words, Wu Kadi could only feel his eyebrows twitching and his hands trembling. A mere silver saber actually dared to spout such arrogant words, asking him to assist him with all his strength. Although Wu Kadi was furious, his expression did not change at all. He cupped his fist towards Dao again and said gratefully, Dao, since you've decided, let's do it this way. Dao nodded and proudly turned his head to look at Li Shan. He loudly said, Li Shan, I now announce that my level 25 equipment will be exchanged with the Wu family for the Great Recovery Pill. Once my martial arts have greatly improved, I will go to the Godly Blade sect and become the sect master of the Godly Blade sect. Then, I will lead the Godly Blade sect out of the South region and strive to become the world's #1 guild. After hearing Dao's words, Li Shan did not know what to say. If it was so easy to become the sect master of the Godly Knife sect, then everyone would be the sect master of the Godly Knife sect. Madman! He really is a madman. Li Shan secretly clenched his teeth. He wanted to see what was in Dao's head. Even if he was crazy, he should be able to think about whether this was possible or not. Li Shan admired Wu Kadi. He admired this guy for daring to say that he wanted Dao to lead the Godly Knife sect out of the South County and become the #1 sect in the world. At this moment, Li Shan only wanted to ask Wu Kadi why he did not eat the Great Recovery Pill himself and lead the Wu family to become the #1 sect in the world. However, Li Shan was very clear that Dao was willing to listen to this. Since Dao was willing to listen, then he would say it to him. There was nothing to lose. Thinking of this, Li Shan immediately clapped his hands. He looked at Dao and said with a smile, Dao, I am very happy and gratified that you have such great ambitions. Speaking of this, Li Shan paused for a moment before continuing. However, Dao, with your ability, it seems that you have only achieved this much. It seems like it is a waste of your ability. After hearing Li Shan's words, Dao was stunned for a moment and quickly asked, Li Shan, do you have a better idea? After hearing Dao's words, Li Shan's anger suddenly surged. This brat Dao was now extremely arrogant. He used to call him Lord Protector, but now he was directly calling him by his name. Thinking of this, Li Shan's hands could not help but tremble. He wanted to reach out and grab Dao's hilt and kill this hateful guy. However, Li Shan was very clear that if he really did that, he would be the unlucky one. Putting everything else aside, he would not be able to obtain that level 25 equipment. With so many people in front of him, Li Shan could guarantee that if he attacked Yin Dao in a fit of anger, there would be several people who would stop him. At that time, not only would he not be able to cut Yin Dao down, but he would also be saved by others. At that time, when Yin Dao saw that he had attacked him, he would definitely take the level 25 equipment and run to someone else's house. As for the level 25 equipment that was about to be his, he would not be able to obtain it in this lifetime. Seeing everyone's vigilant eyes, Li Shan was very clear that these people were waiting for him to make a move. As long as he made a move, the level 25 equipment would no longer belong to him. Thinking of this, Li Shan suppressed his anger and slowly let out a breath. He then smiled and said, "Yin Dao, with your achievements, it would be easy for you to create a business. However, just like I said, if your starting point is high, even if you succeed, others will think that it is natural." Speaking of this, Li Shan paused for a moment before continuing. But if your starting point is low, once you succeed, you will definitely receive everyone's praise. So I think that you should stay in the Wu family and lead the weak Wu family out of the South County. Then, you will become the world's #1 guild. Only then will you be able to show your ability and let the world see that you, Yin Dao, are the most capable person in the world. Yin Dao, am I right? After hearing Li Shan's words, Yin Dao shook his head with some difficulty. Li Shan, although what you said makes sense, it will increase the difficulty and waste more time. Chapter 574. After hearing Yin Dao's words, Li Shan shook his head and said with a smile, "How could that be? Yin Dao, with your strength, it would be too easy for you to dominate the South County." Speaking to this point, Li Shan paused for a moment before continuing. "Yin Dao, as long as you become the head of the Wu family, I believe that all the major gangs in the South County will flee at the sight of you. What's so difficult about that?" Hearing Li Shan's words, Yin Dao was in disbelief. "Li Shan, am I really that powerful? As long as I become the head of the Wu family, they will all submit to me?" Li Shan nodded affirmatively and said with a smile, "Yin Dao, of course. Now, your martial arts are not strong. You can see that others also want to help you. The reason why they want to help you is because you have a lot of potential, so they want to help you." Hearing this, Yin Dao was overjoyed and quickly nodded. "If that's the case, then good. I agree to become the head of the Wu family. Then, I will turn the Wu family into the #1 gang in the South County." Hearing Yin Dao's words, Li Shan nodded with satisfaction and said with a smile, "That's right, Yin Dao. Only by doing this can you live up to your abilities." Speaking to this point, Li Shan paused for a moment before continuing. "However, you only took one great revitalizing pill, which isn't enough. Most importantly, the great revitalizing pill can only increase your martial arts by 50 years, which is a bit too little. From what I see, Yin Dao, why don't you use your level 25 equipment to exchange for the Godly Sword Sect's holy water? Only then can you meet your requirements." Hearing Li Shan's words, Yin Dao asked with some doubt, "What is holy water? How come I've never heard of it?" Hearing this, Li Shan smiled and nodded. "Holy water is the most secretive thing of the Godly Sword Sect. I've never seen it before. Legend has it that the first head of the Godly Sword Sect found a spirit water that could increase one's martial arts at the foot of the Dalian Mountain. At that time, the first head of the Godly Sword Sect only smelled the spirit water, and his martial arts immediately increased greatly. He became a #1 person in the South County, which was why he founded the Godly Sword Sect." At this point, Li Shan sighed. Although the effect of the spirit water is good, it's a pity that the amount is too little. The entire Godly Saber Sect only has 1 drop. The Godly Saber Sect has an unspoken rule. As long as you become the sect master of the Godly Saber Sect, you can smell the holy water once to increase your strength. Speaking of this, Li Shan turned his head to look at Yin Dao and said with a smile, "Yin Dao, think about it. As long as you smell the holy water, it can greatly increase your power. If you take that drop of holy water, how much power will you gain? It is simply unimaginable." Dao, tell me, is it true that only such an item of creation is worthy of you? Hearing Li Shan's words, Dao's heart was in turmoil. Dao had never imagined that the holy water would be so powerful. No matter what kind of elixir it was, it needed to be consumed. However, the holy water could increase one's power by just asking them. This was simply beyond Dao's imagination. Dao was a child who loved to dream, but even if he was dreaming, he would never dream of a treasure like the holy water. Just smelling it could greatly increase one's power. Then if he ate this drop of holy water, wouldn't he immediately ascend to the heavens? Thinking of this, Dao hurriedly turned his head to look at Li Shan and asked with a trembling voice, Li Shan, can I really get that drop of holy water? Li Shan shook his head. If it's only like this, you definitely won't be able to get it. After hearing Li Shan's words, Dao's eyes immediately flashed with a trace of anger. Li Shan, what do you mean by this? Are you playing with me? Li Shan shook his head. Dao, why would I play with you? Of course you won't be able to get that drop of holy water. You will need to use your level 25 equipment to exchange for that drop of holy water. Only then can you take it. Hearing these words, the anger on Dao's face immediately disappeared and was replaced with a smile. Li Shan, then it's a deal. I'll use my level 25 equipment to exchange for that drop of holy water. Hearing Dao's answer, Li Shan immediately nodded his head in satisfaction. Good. As expected of Dao, you are decisive when doing things. After hearing Li Shan's words, Dao immediately looked up to the sky and laughed loudly. When he lowered his head, his face was already filled with dignity. Dao turned his head to look at Wu Kadi and lightly said, Wu Kadi, you heard it too. I've already decided on this matter. I'll do as Li Shan said, and use my level 25 equipment to exchange for the Godly Blade Sect's holy water. Speaking up to here, Dao paused for a moment before continuing, Wu Kadi, don't be disappointed. After I use my equipment to exchange for the holy water and increase my strength, I'll immediately go to your Wu clan and become the Wu clan's patriarch. Wu Kadi, you should be satisfied with what I've done, right? After hearing Dao's words, Wu Kadi only felt the anger in his heart continue to surge. It continuously attacked his mind, causing his eyes to become a bit dazed. Li Shan, you shameless bastard, you really dare to say anything. Holy water. Wu Kadi had never heard of such a thing. He could guarantee that the holy water that Li Shan spoke of did not exist in this world. If there really was something like what Li Shan said, something that could greatly increase one's strength by just smelling it, then it would have been spread around long ago. Wu Kadi did not think that he was ignorant. After living for so long, even if he had never seen such a thing, he should have at least heard of it. However, Wu Kadi had never heard of such a thing as holy water in this world. However, even though Wu Kadi knew that there was no such thing as holy water, when he heard Li Shan's words, it was as if it was true. In his heart, there was a feeling of anticipation. At this moment, Wu Kadi understood that Li Shan, this old bastard, was completely shameless. He did not care about what he had or did not have. As long as Dao was willing to listen, he would say anything. Thinking of this, Wu Kadi was somewhat worried. Li Shan could be shameless, but he still clearly held on to his bottom line. At least, everything that Wu Kadi said existed in this world. Perhaps it did not exist in the Wu family, but it was definitely not something that Wu Kadi dreamed of. Looking at the complacent Li Shan and the dignified Dao, Wu Kadi pondered in his heart whether he was talking nonsense or just directly retreated. He wanted to seriously talk to Li Shan, but now it seemed that he could not win. If he wanted to win, then he could only talk nonsense. The most terrible thing was that there were so many people here. If he talked nonsense, then it would be bad for his reputation in the future. Thinking of this, Wu Kadi decided to give up. However, he really could not bring himself to do so. If he really talked nonsense, then he would definitely not be able to win against the shameless Li Shan. Unless Wu Kadi could also use Li Shanshan's method and talk nonsense. Then he would have a chance to win. Chapter 575. Wu Kadi sighed and decided to back out. Just as he was about to speak, his heart skipped a beat, and he swallowed the words he was about to say. Why am I standing here? It's for that level 25 equipment. I've been chatting with this lunatic for so long. Isn't my ultimate goal just to get that level 25 equipment? If I back out, then I'll lose the equipment. I won't have a chance to get that level 25 equipment anymore. Wu Kadi wasn't as greedy as Silverknife. He didn't want things like great revitalizing pills, marrow cleansing pills, or even holy water. He knew that even if he wanted it, it was useless. With his status, he definitely wouldn't be able to get it. Not to mention those treasures. Just this level 25 equipment was a treasure that Wu Kadi could only look up to. Even if Wu Kadi wanted other things, he wouldn't be able to get them. However, this level 25 equipment was right in front of him. As long as he put in a little more effort, he might be able to get it. Level 25 equipment was definitely a rare treasure. Once he thought of this level 25 equipment, Wu Kadi's heart couldn't calm down anymore. Wu Kadi's thoughts fluctuated as he constantly struggled with his bottom line. On one hand, he was talking nonsense. On the other hand, he was talking about the level 25 equipment. These two thoughts constantly revolved in Wu Kadi's mind. Wu Kadi felt a little dizzy. He wanted the level 25 equipment, but he didn't want to talk nonsense. This made him feel like he was in a dilemma. Silverknife saw that Wu Kadi didn't speak for a long time and was displeased. He coldly asked, Wu Kadi, are you still not satisfied? I've already agreed to become the patriarch of your Wu family. Are you still not satisfied? Hearing this, Wu Kadi's anger surged again. A small fry like Silverknife actually dared to speak to him like this. This was unforgivable. Thinking of this, Wu Kadi's heart suddenly became clear. A person like Silverknife who didn't know the immensity of heaven and earth. If he didn't lie to him, who else could he lie to? Thinking of this, Wu Kadi made a decision. Since Li Mingshan was willing to be shameless for that level 25 equipment, then Wu Kadi would compete with him. Isn't it just talking nonsense? Are you the only one who knows how to talk nonsense? And I, Wu Kadi, don't know how to talk nonsense? Li Mingshan, just you wait. Having made up his mind, the doubt in Wu Kadi's eyes disappeared and was replaced by a sneer. Dao, it's our honor that you're willing to join the Wu clan. I welcome you on behalf of the Wu clan. After saying this, Wu Kadi clapped his hands to welcome the Silverknife. Seeing Wu Kadi clap his hands, Dao nodded in satisfaction. With his hands clasped behind his back, he slowly walked in front of Wu Kadi, patted Wu Kadi's shoulder, and said in a deep voice, Wu Kadi, after I become the head of the Wu clan, I will let you manage the affairs of the Wu clan for me. I hope you won't disappoint me. Wu Kadi's eyebrows twitched rapidly, but he gritted his teeth and endured it. A smile appeared on his face. Dao, good. I won't let you down. At this point, Wu Kadi paused. He hesitated for a moment before continuing. Dao, there's something I don't know if I should say. Dao nodded slightly. Wu Kadi, just say it. As long as it's right, I will support you. At this point, Dao paused for a moment before continuing. Wu Kadi, you can't do anything out of line. Otherwise, I won't let you go. Hearing Dao's words, Wu Kadi laughed in his heart, but he still nodded. Master Dao, don't worry. I won't let you down. After hearing Wu Kadi's words, Dao's eyes lit up. Lord Silver Saber, this was a title that Silver Saber had never even thought of. Although this Wu Kadi in front of him was not a big shot, Silver Saber was very happy that such a person called him Lord Silver Saber. Dao nodded with satisfaction and said lightly, Wu Kadi, speak. Wu Kadi hurriedly said, Master Dao, although the holy water provided by Li Mingshan is very precious, compared to Master Dao's status, it's still not enough. I think that Master Dao should use a higher grade elixir to match your status. At this point, Wu Kadi paused and took a step towards Dao before continuing in a low voice. If others were to find out that someone of Serene Dao's status would consume such a low-quality medicine, wouldn't they laugh at you? Therefore, I don't recommend you to consume the holy water provided by the godly sword faction. After hearing Wu Kadi's words, Yin Dao straightened his back and his expression became more solemn. He coughed twice before asking solemnly, Wu Kadi, since it's like this, do you have a solution? Wu Kadi nodded. Of course I do. If I didn't, how would I dare to tell Master Yin Dao? Hearing this, Yin Dao waved his hand impatiently. Wu Kadi, don't talk nonsense. If you have any ideas, quickly tell me. Wu Kadi hurriedly nodded and said, Legend has it that in a mountain in the west of the South region, there's a magical elixir. It's said that as long as you take this elixir, you can immediately become an immortal. At this point, Wu Kadi paused for a moment before continuing, I think that only this elixir is worthy of Master Yin Dao's status. After hearing Wu Kadi's words, Yin Dao was elated. He asked, Wu Kadi, is this true? Can that elixir really make people become immortal? Wu Kadi nodded. Absolutely, because I've seen such a scene before. After hearing Wu Kadi's words, Yin Dao hurriedly asked, Wu Kadi, quickly tell me. Don't keep me in suspense. Wu Kadi nodded. His eyes slowly looked at the night sky, as if he was reminiscing. He slowly said, I remember that spring I went to that mountain to find a kind of elixir. Because the mountain was too big, I actually lost my way. Just like that, I wandered around the mountain until nighttime, but I never came out of the mountain. Helpless, I could only continue to look for the way back. At this point, Wu Kadi paused for a moment before continuing. I remember very clearly that I kept looking like this until midnight. I was already exhausted. Just as I was about to lose all hope, I stood on a mountain and looked into the distance. Suddenly, I saw a light in the distance. When I saw this light, I thought it was someone else, so I used all my strength to walk toward the light. Although the light was very clear, it was actually very far away from me. I had to rest twice before I finally arrived near the light. At this point, Wu Kadi paused for a moment before continuing, Yin Dao. Chapter 576. Wu Kadi continued, Yin Dao, can you guess what I saw? Yin Dao shook his head and said impatiently, Wu Kadi, don't talk nonsense. If you have something to say, just say it. What did you see? After hearing Yin Dao's words, Wu Kadi's expression changed, but a moment later, a smile returned to his face. At that time, I slowly approached the light and saw a figure flashing with golden light slowly disappearing. At the same time, I heard the person's laughter and what he said because he was excited. At this point, Wu Kadi no longer asked the silver knife and directly said, This person is shouting that I have become an immortal. I really didn't expect this fruit to be so powerful. I'm too lucky. I'm really too lucky. Speaking of this, Wu Kadi paused for a moment before continuing. Seeing such a strange scene, I was so scared that I didn't dare to make a sound. I could only hide at the side and watch secretly. This situation lasted for the time it took to brew a cup of tea. Then, the man with the golden light disappeared in front of me. I waited for a long time. Seeing that there was no danger, I went to take a look. Within a radius of 50 meters, there was not a single blade of grass. There was only a 1-meter tall plant in the center. I checked again and found that there were traces of the plant being pulled. According to the traces, this should be the place where the fruit grew. I then remembered what the person said and understood that the person must have eaten the fruit growing on this plant to become an immortal. Hearing Wu Kadi's words, Yin Dao couldn't help but ask in shock, Wu Kadi, tell me, where is this plant? What does it look like? Tell me quickly. Hearing Silverblade's question, Wu Kadi smiled and nodded. Silverblade, the reason why I'm telling you this is because I want to exchange it for your level 25 equipment. I wonder if you're willing to do so? After hearing such miraculous news, how could Yin Dao still care about the level 25 equipment? After hearing Wu Kadi's words, he immediately nodded. Wu Kadi, as long as you tell me where this plant is, I'll immediately give you the level 25 equipment. Wu Kadi nodded, sure, as long as you sign a contract with me, I'll tell you the location immediately. Wu Kadi paused for a moment before continuing. Yin Dao, although I can tell you the location of this plant, I can't help you find it. I think the Godly Knife sect has a lot of people. If you let them search, they should be able to find it. Hearing Wu Kadi's words, Yin Dao immediately nodded. He turned to Li Shan and said in a deep voice, Li Shan, you heard Wu Kadi's words, right? Go and replace the pen and paper. I want to write a contract with Wu Kadi. After that, immediately send people from the Godly Knife sect to look for this plant. Once they find it, immediately report to me. Seeing the impatient look on everyone's face, Li Shan sneered. Yin Dao, do you really think this is true? Don't listen to Wu Kadi's nonsense. If this is true, then why didn't he go look for this plant himself? Why do you have to come back and tell you? After hearing Li Shan's words, Yin Dao froze for a moment. He then turned to Wu Kadi and asked doubtfully, Wu Kadi, is what Li Shan said true? Are you really lying to me? Wu Kadi smiled and shook his head. Master Yin Dao, don't listen to Li Shan's nonsense. He's just jealous. After saying this, Wu Kadi paused and suppressed his tone before continuing. Master Yin Dao, think about it. Such a precious thing, who wouldn't want it? This is something that can allow one to become an immortal after eating it. What is becoming an immortal? It's immortality and extraordinary magic power. Li Shan is jealous. He's jealous of Master Yin Dao's good fortune. He's jealous that he doesn't have such good luck. After hearing Wu Kadi's explanation, Yin Dao sneered and nodded. A little Li Shan is actually worthy of being jealous. If he wasn't a little useful, Seeing that Silverblade believed him, Wu Kadi hurriedly said, since that's the case, let's hurry up and go. Master Silverblade can also send people to look for that plant. The sooner we do this, the better. If this plant is seen by others, wouldn't that be bad? After hearing Wu Kadi's words, Yin Dao nodded and turned to look at Li Shan. He sneered and said, Li Shan, hurry up and do what I told you to do. After hearing Yin Dao's impolite words, Li Mingshan's hand trembled. He wanted to touch the handle of his saber, but he suddenly clenched his teeth. He saw Li Mingshan's face become very ugly, so he quickly patted him on the shoulder and gave him a meaningful glance, telling him not to move. After doing all this, Li Shan turned his head to look at Yin Dao, and a smile appeared on his face once again. Yin Dao, it's not that I don't want to get you a pen and paper, but I'm afraid you'll be fooled by Wu Kadi. Speaking up to this point, Li Shan paused for a moment before continuing. The treasure that Wu Kadi told you about is something that he said himself. No one else has seen it. If he randomly gave you an address, wouldn't he be lying to you? Yin Dao thought for a moment and then turned to look at Wu Kadi. Wu Kadi, you won't lie to me, right? Wu Kadi smiled. Master Yin Dao, how would I dare to lie to you? You're the future leader of Wuling. If I lie to you, when the time comes, you'll send countless masters to kill me. Then, won't I be the unlucky one? Master Yin Dao, don't worry. I understand this, so I definitely won't lie to you. After hearing Wu Kadi's answer, Yin Dao snorted. You wouldn't dare. Yin Dao turned to look at Li Shan and said slowly, Li Shan, don't worry. Wu Kadi wouldn't dare to lie to me. After hearing Yin Dao's answer, Li Shan nodded and said with a smile, Yin Dao, since Wu Kadi wouldn't dare to lie to you, then I'm relieved. At this point, Li Shan paused for a moment before continuing. However, no one knows if the plant Wu Kadi mentioned is real or fake. Most importantly, no one knows if the man with the golden light has become an immortal or if he was killed. Yin Dao, I feel that you don't need to take that risk. You should take some medicine that you're more confident in. That's the best plan. After hearing Li Shan's words, Yin Dao's eyes suddenly lit up and he hurriedly asked, Li Shan, do you know of any medicine that can make people become immortal? Li Shan nodded, of course. If I didn't know, how would I dare to tell you? Speaking of this, Li Shan paused and then continued. Yin Dao, I know of a very safe medicine. Chapter 577. After hearing Li Shan's words, Yin Dao was overjoyed and asked, Li Shan, what kind of medicine are you talking about? When Li Shan heard this, he held back his laughter and said solemnly, My home is in Fanlin City in the South County. When I went back home last year, I had a very good friend in the same village. My friend was originally a couple, but when I went back this time, I only saw my husband. I was very curious because the couple basically never separated, so I asked him about it. He refused to say anything. Later, we started to drink. His alcohol tolerance was not very good, so it didn't take long for him to drink a little too much. At this time, I asked him about it again, so he took advantage of his drunkenness to explain it clearly. Speaking of this, Li Shanshan paused for a moment before continuing. It turned out that just after the new year, they heard that there was a miracle in the West Mountain area, so they rushed over to have a look. The husband and wife were lucky. They searched the West Mountain for half a month and found nothing. Just when they were about to come back, they suddenly heard a voice calling out to them. When they were about to return, it was already after midnight. They stood on the top of the mountain and suddenly found that not far from them, there was a child. The child was about 4 or 5 years old. After seeing the two of them, the child ran away in a panic. The couple saw a child running around in the wilderness. They were a little worried, so they chased after him. Although the child was young, he ran very fast. Fortunately, the two of them both knew martial arts. Although the child ran fast, they could barely catch up. In this way, the child ran in front, and they chased behind. They chased until dawn, when the child stopped in a valley. But what made the couple feel strange was that as soon as the child stopped, he just squatted on the ground and disappeared. The couple felt very strange, so they began to search nearby, but they didn't see any trace of the child. While they were searching, the sky was getting brighter and brighter, and the vision was getting better and better. Finally, they found a plant in the place where the child disappeared. The couple had traveled a lot all year round, so they naturally had a lot of knowledge. After a long time, they finally found that the plant turned out to be a ginseng. The two of them recalled the child they had chased last night and the ginseng in front of them. They immediately realized that the child they had chased last night must have been a ginseng baby. With this thought in mind, the two of them no longer hesitated and immediately dug out the ginseng in front of them. After digging out the whole ginseng, the two of them were even more convinced that the child they chased last night was indeed this ginseng. This ginseng was already fully grown. Although it was still not big, it was vaguely humanoid. Seeing such a treasure, the two of them decided that the wife would eat this treasure first, and there was a ginseng of the same size beside it for the husband to eat. The matter was decided. His wife ate the ginseng. Originally, he thought that it would only increase his power, but unexpectedly, his wife felt as light as a swallow. Slowly, she could even float in the air. Only then did she understand that the ginseng's effect was really extraordinary. His wife took the ginseng and slowly floated up into the sky. Her husband also wanted to dig out the ginseng next to him, but he thought about it. His ginseng was not ripe yet, so it would be wasted. So he did not dig it out. Instead, he waited at the top of the mountain every night for the ginseng baby to appear. As long as the ginseng baby appeared, it would mean that the ginseng was ripe and the man would immediately dig it out and eat it. At this point, Li Shanshan turned to look at Dao and asked with a smile, Dao, what do you think of this ginseng? A month ago, that ginseng was not ripe yet. If you want, you can go to the West Mountain of Fanlin Town and look for this ginseng. Hearing Li Shanshan's words, Dao's eyebrows bloomed with joy. Although the ginseng Wu Kadi mentioned sounded good, he always felt that it was somewhat unreliable. Li Shanshan's words were different. He had completely told him the person and the location. As long as he went to Fanlin Town, he could immediately find that ginseng. Thinking of this, Dao immediately stepped forward and came to Li Shanshan's side. He happily patted Li Shanshan's shoulder and said with a smile, Li Shanshan, you did a good job. When I find this ginseng, I will not forget you. After being patted by Dao on the shoulder, Li Shanshan was simply burning with anger. However, when he looked at Wu Kadi who was sneering at him, he decided to endure. Li Shanshan knew that Wu Kadi was waiting for him to get angry. As long as he got angry at Dao, then Li Shanshan was sure that Dao would not hesitate to join Wu Kadi's side. At that time, the level 25 equipment and the silver dagger would fly to Wu Kedi. Therefore, Li Shanshan was not willing to accept this. Logically speaking, Yin Dao was a disciple of the Godly Knife faction, while Li Shanshan was a protector of the Godly Knife faction. His position was much higher than Yin Dao's. As long as he said a word, Yin Dao should unconditionally obey. However, this was not the case. Yin Dao, this brat, was crazy. What protector of the Godly Knife faction? Now, even the faction master of the Godly Knife faction was not in Yin Dao's eyes, let alone Li Shanshan. If it was not for that level 25 equipment that attracted Li Shanshan's attention. With Li Shanshan's violent temper, even if Yin Dao had a tyrannical background, Li Shanshan would not hesitate to beat him into a pulp. Li Shanshan suppressed the anger in his heart and said with a smile, Yin Dao, only a talent like you is worthy of such a good treasure. I hope you don't miss it. After hearing Li Shanshan's words, Yin Dao nodded and patted Li Shanshan's shoulder again. Li Shanshan, I have decided to reward you with that level 25 equipment. Speaking up to here, Yin Dao paused for a moment before continuing. Of course, my condition is that you tell me the location of the ginseng. Li Shanshan nodded without hesitation and said with a smile, Yin Dao, the reason I told you this secret is to tell you where this almost ripe ginseng is. Yin Dao nodded with satisfaction. Good. Since we have decided, I will tell Wu Kedi not to tell anyone about this plant secret. If there is a chance in the future, I will go and find that plant. Li Mingshan nodded and said with a smile, Yin Dao, there's no need to rush. Shouldn't we make a contract about the equipment? When the time comes, we won't have to trouble you. We can just go and find the water spirit medicine. After hearing Li Shanshan's words, Yin Dao nodded. Good, this is also good. I will write down my name for you first. When the time comes, you don't have to bother me and can just go and find water spirit medicine. Hearing this, Li Shanshan was about to speak when Wu Kedi laughed. Chapter 578. Seeing Wu Kedi laughing, Li Shan sneered. Li Shan didn't believe that Wu Kedi could be stronger than him. Li Shan didn't believe that Wu Kedi could be stronger than him. Wu Kedi naturally understood this. The reason why he was laughing was because he wanted to think of a way to solve this problem. After laughing for a while, Wu Kedi's eyes suddenly lit up. He really did think of a way. Since he couldn't win against Li Mingshan, then he might as well say something bad. Thinking of this, Wu Kedi laughed and walked towards Silver Knife. Just when the crowd didn't know what Wu Kedi was going to do, Wu Kedi had already stepped on the ground and rushed to Silver Knife's side like lightning. Wu Kedi's 5 fingers formed a claw and grabbed on his Silver Knife's throat as he coldly said, Silver Knife brat, I don't want to talk nonsense with you. Be honest and quickly sign a contract with me. Give me that level 25 equipment and I'll spare your life. Speaking up to here, Wu Kedi paused and coldly snorted before continuing, Silver Knife, if you don't agree, humph. As he spoke, Wu Kedi's hand that was holding on his Silver Knife's throat began to slightly increase in strength. Cough, cough. Silver Knife couldn't help but cough violently after being grabbed by Wu Kedi. The coughing caused a sharp pain in his body and an even more intense pain. His stomach churned, and before he could answer Wu Kedi's words, he spat out a mouthful of blood onto Wu Kedi's hand. Seeing that his hand was stained red by Silver Knife's blood, and thinking that it was Silver Knife who spat it out, Wu Kedi felt a wave of disgust, but he couldn't take his hand back. He could only watch as Silver Knife spat out 3 mouthfuls of blood onto his hand. Seeing this scene, the people around him were stunned. Then, seeing Wu Kedi's discomfort, they couldn't help but laugh out loud. Hearing this laughter, Wu Kedi's face couldn't help but turn ugly. He coldly snorted, but didn't dare to use more strength in his hand. He was afraid that Silver Knife would spit out even more blood. Silver Knife brat, hurry up and agree. Otherwise, don't blame me for being merciless. Wu Kedi spat out these words fiercely, but he was suddenly stunned. Wu Kedi held the Silver Knife in his hand. After a series of violent coughs, he spat out a few mouthfuls of blood. His body gradually softened, and his eyes turned white. If it wasn't for Wu Kedi's hand supporting him, he would have fallen to the ground. Seeing this scene, Wu Kedi was stunned. Only then did he remember that Yin Dao was heavily injured. Even if he did not threaten him, he would not be able to live for long. Looking at Silver Knife slowly falling to the ground, Wu Kedi knew that this was bad. If the silver dagger was finished, then the level 25 equipment would be finished as well. Thinking of this, Wu Kedi hurriedly let go of his hand, only to see Silver Knife fall to the ground. Wu Kedi immediately turned pale with fright. He hurriedly squatted down, patted Silver Knife's cheek, and shouted loudly, "Yin Dao, how are you? Are you all right?" Seeing Wu Kedi let go of his hand, Li Shan immediately stepped forward and grabbed the hilt of his knife. He angrily said, "Wu Kedi, what are you doing?" Hearing Li Shan's words, Wu Kedi was stunned for a moment. A moment later, he felt a chill coming from behind him. He was startled and did not dare to be negligent. He hurriedly stomped on the ground, and his whole body rushed forward. Just as Wu Kedi dodged, a saber light flashed behind him. The blade flashed, and after a mournful scream, the scene returned to normal. The blade disappeared, and so did the scream. Only the sound of Li Shan's breathing could be heard. Li Shan stared blankly at the silver knife that had been cut into 2 pieces on the ground, and his heart was filled with regret. A level 25 equipment, and it was finished by his own blade. Wu Kedi was also stunned. A moment later, he suddenly said loudly, "Li Shan, you are so cruel. You didn't even let your own disciple go." Li Shan, who was originally standing there in a daze, heard Wu Kedi's words. His eyes narrowed, and a cold light flashed through them. He slowly raised his head and looked at Wu Kedi not far away. After a while, he suddenly roared, "Wu Kedi, today either you die or I die." After saying this, Li Shan's whole body had turned into a blade again and rushed toward Wu Kedi. Li Shan's blade was released in anger, so its power was naturally not to be underestimated. Even if Wu Kedi was conceited, he would not dare to take Li Shan's blade in a panic. Wu Kedi saw that the situation was not good. He fiercely stomped on the ground, and his whole body shot to the side. Li Shan's blade missed, but he did not stop. He only roared, and once again swung his blade toward Wu Kedi. On the side, Wu Ketian saw that the situation was not right. He hurriedly waved his dragon head cane and met Li Shan's blade. Li Shan's saber and Wu Ketian's crutch collided with each other, making a crisp sound. After the sound, both of them simultaneously retreated a few steps, but suddenly brandished their weapons and rushed towards each other again. Wu Kedi saw that his brother and Li Shan were fighting, so he did not dare to be negligent. He was about to rush toward Li Shan, but he saw that Li Mingxue was also rushing toward him with red eyes. He could only change his direction and rush toward Li Mingxue. The two of them fought fiercely. Shadowless sighed in his heart. It was all over now. The level 25 equipment was also gone. The happiest person was, of course, Xue Lingzi. Now that Li Shan had killed Silver Knife, all the problems were solved. The only problem that everyone needed to solve was Silver Knife. Silver Knife needed a piece of level 25 equipment to increase his strength. However, how could they give him a piece of level 25 equipment? Thus, everyone was stuck in a deadlock. Now that the two sides were fighting fiercely, Xue Lingzi's heart was filled with joy. If both sides suffered heavy losses and retreated, then wouldn't they lose another 4 pieces of level 20 equipment? Thinking of this, Xue Lingzi did not dare to make a sound. She was afraid that she would affect the battle. If she disturbed them, and they suddenly stopped fighting, then it would not be good news for Xue Lingzi. While Xue Lingzi was happy, she secretly glanced at Shadowless. She thought that if Shadowless could also participate in this battle, then wouldn't it be better if all 3 sides suffered heavy losses? The Wu brothers and the Li brothers had already gone all out. After the incident with the silver knife, Li Shan's level 25 equipment, which he was about to obtain, was completely ruined. Naturally, his hatred towards the Wu brothers was overflowing. The Wu brothers were not to be trifled with, although they knew that they were in the wrong. But since the Li brothers did not listen to their explanation, then there was nothing they could do. They were not afraid of each other, so they decided to fight. Whoever lost was the grandson. However, the martial arts of both sides were more or less the same. Even if the Lee brothers' martial arts were a bit higher, they would not be able to quickly end this battle. The battle between the two sides was abnormally fierce. The figures of the four people constantly flashed in the air. Chapter 579. Shadowless, who had been watching the battle, suddenly sneered. After being surprised for a while, Shadowless understood that if this battle continued, the one who would benefit in the end wouldn't be the two sides, but Water Spirit, who was watching from the side. No matter which side lost, they wouldn't have the face to stay. As long as they left, Water Spirit wouldn't have to pay for the 2 level 20 equipment. However, even though Shadowless saw this point, he didn't want to say it because it had nothing to do with him. No matter who won or lost, it wouldn't affect his 2 level 20 equipment. Wu Kadi, who was fighting, saw that he was being beaten back by Li Mingshui and suddenly shouted, "Li Mingshan, you killed Silverblade yourself. Why are you looking for trouble with me?" Li Mingshan knocked Wu Katian back and sneered, "If it wasn't for you, how could I hurt Silverblade? It's all your fault. If it wasn't for you, I would have already gotten that level 25 equipment." After hearing Li Mingshan's words, Wu Kadi suddenly laughed. "Li Mingshan, let me ask you, where did Silverblade get that level 25 equipment from?" Li Mingshan froze for a moment, and Wu Kutian, who was fighting with him, also couldn't help but put away his dragon head walking stick and stand to the side. Li Mingshui saw that Wu Kutian had stopped, so he could only snort and come to Li Mingshan's side. "Big brother, are you okay?" Hearing Li Mingshui's question, Li Mingshan only shook his head and turned to Wu Kadi, asking loudly, "Wu Kadi, what do you mean by that?" Wu Kadi heard and shook his head. "Li Mingshan, I don't mean anything. I just want to tell you that even if you want to fight, you found the wrong person." After Wu Kadi's words, Wu Kutian, who had been fighting with Li Mingshan, also said in a deep voice, "Li Mingshan, no matter if Silverblade died or not, Fire Spirit injured him. Even though Silverblade is no longer here, he is still a disciple of the Godly Blade Sect. As the protector of the Godly Blade Sect, you have the responsibility to get justice for him." Hearing Wu Kutian's words, Li Mingshan's heart suddenly moved. That's right, as the saying goes, every injustice has its perpetrator, every debt has its debtor. Fire Spirit injured Silverblade, so he had to pay for it. Even if Silverblade was no longer here, it was still a fact that Fire Spirit injured him. Thinking of this, Li Mingshan suddenly turned his head and looked at Shui Lingzi in the distance. After a long while, he suddenly strode towards Shui Lingzi. "Li Mingshui, Li Mingshui, Li Mingshui, Li Mingshui's, Li Mingshui, Li's, Li Mingshui, Li Mingshan, Li Li's. Inessess Blade, Li Long's Time Blade, Li Silver Shui Lingzi. Even though Silverblade is no longer here, we still have to pay for the fact that you injured Silverblade." After hearing Li Mingshan's words, Shui Lingzi's face suddenly changed. She forced a smile and asked, "Li Mingshan, don't joke around. Silverblade is no longer here. Even if I have to pay for it, who should I pay for it?" Hearing Shui Lingzi's question, Li Mingshan sneered. Then, he pointed at his own nose and said coldly, "Me." After hearing Li Mingshan's words, Shui Lingzi was stunned for a moment. After she reacted, she immediately laughed. "Li Mingshan, we injured Silverblade. What does it have to do with you? Why should we pay for it?" Li Mingshan shook his head. "You don't have to pay for it. You have to pay for Silverblade." Shui Lingzi heard this and angrily said, "Li Mingshan, don't talk nonsense. You already killed Silverblade. The debt between us has been settled. I don't want to hear about this matter again." Li Mingshan shook his head. "No, this matter can't be settled like this. You must pay for Silverblade." Speaking up to here, Li Mingshan paused for a moment before continuing. "Although Silverblade is no longer here, he still has his family. Shui Lingzi, you only need to give me the things that you gave him as compensation. I will give them to his family as compensation." After hearing Li Mingshan's words, Shui Lingzi suddenly sneered. She pointed at Silver Blade in the distance and sternly said, Li Mingshan, Silver Blade was killed by you. If you want to talk about compensation, you should be the one paying for it. Speaking up to here, Shui Lingzi paused for a moment before continuing, although we injured Silver Blade, we didn't injure his vitals. If we hurry up and treat him, there will be no problem. Li Mingshan, but you, in order to pay for it, you refused to treat Silverblade. In the end, under your anger, you killed Silverblade. Li Mingshan, I really didn't expect that after you killed Silverblade, you still have the face to ask for compensation. Where's your face? You have the nerve to say this. Hearing Shui Lingzi's harsh criticism, Li Mingshan's face didn't change. He lightly said, Shui Lingzi, don't say these useless things. You injured our godly blade sex disciple, so you must pay for it. Moreover, you have already agreed that you will compensate Silverblade with a level 25 equipment. Shui Lingzi, you can't deny this matter. With so many people here, I think that even if you want to deny it, I'm afraid you won't be able to. Shui Lingzi shook her head. We did injure Silverblade, and I did agree to compensate him with a piece of equipment. This is not a problem. If you can make Silverblade sign a contract with me, then I can still compensate him. Speaking up to here, Shui Lingzi paused for a moment before continuing. But if you can't make Silverblade speak, then don't blame me for not taking responsibility for this matter. After what happened just now, Li Mingshan's anger had subsided a lot. Although Shui Lingzi's words were very irritating, he still endured it. Li Mingshan knew that this was his last chance. If he lost it because of his anger, then that level 25 equipment would be completely out of his reach. Li Mingshan didn't get angry and lightly said, Shui Lingzi, Silverblade is our godly blade sex outstanding disciple. He was accidentally killed by me, and I'm also very sad. But the reason why he was killed by me... Speaking up to here, Li Mingshan slowly raised his finger and pointed at Shui Lingzi. It's all because of you. If you didn't injure Silverblade, then, with his martial arts, how could he not have dodged my attack? So all of this is your fault. You must take full responsibility for what happened to Silverblade. After hearing Li Mingshan's words, Shui Lingzi coldly snorted, I'm sorry, but I won't take the blame. Silverblade was clearly killed by you. So what does it have to do with me? We all know what Silverblade's martial arts are like. Even if he wasn't injured, I can guarantee that he wouldn't have been able to block your attack. Chapter 580. After listening to Shui Lingzi's words, Li Mingshan sneered. Shui Lingzi, according to what you said, Yin Dao was injured by you. Are we just going to let it go like this? Shui Lingzi heard this and sighed. Now that Yin Dao is gone, even if I want to give him some compensation, I won't have the chance. Speaking up to here, Shui Lingzi paused for a moment before looking up at the sky and letting out a long sigh. Then she continued, Let this matter pass. Just as Shui Lingzi's voice fell, Li Mingshui suddenly said, What if we don't agree? Shui Lingzi shook her head. Even if you don't agree, Yin Dao won't be able to come back. I think, don't be so serious, just let it go. Li Mingshui shook his head and said, No, this matter can't be let go. You beat up our godly knife sex disciple. If word gets out that we brothers, as the protectors of the godly knife sect, can't get justice for our disciple, then wouldn't we become the laughingstock of the world? Speaking up to here, Li Mingshui's tone paused, his eyes flashing as he stared at Shui Lingzi before continuing. Shui Lingzi, you have to give us an explanation for this matter, otherwise... Speaking up to here, Li Mingshui grabbed the handle of his saber and continued. Otherwise, we can only use force to get justice for the godly knife sex disciple. This time, before Shui Lingzi could speak, Fire Spirit angrily said, Li Mingshui, do you think we're afraid of you? Li Mingshui shook his head and lightly said, I don't know if you're afraid or not, but I can tell you that you're definitely not my opponent. When the time comes, once you're defeated by me, you'll be the one's losing face. After hearing Li Mingshan's words, Shui Lingzi suddenly sneered. She took a step forward and shouted, Li Mingxue, let me tell you, if we really fight, the one who will lose face won't necessarily be me. If you, the protector of the godly blade sect, lose face in front of so many people, humph, I like to see if you still have the face to stay here. Hearing Fire Spirit's words, Li Mingshui's grip on the saber handle tightened and his eyes became sharper. Fire Spirit, you really want to fight? Shui Lingzi sneered and shook her head. Li Mingxue, you have to understand that the one you want to hit is you, not me. Li Mingxue slowly pulled out his blade and stared at Fire Spirit. He said in a deep voice, Are you going to do something about the silver blade? Fire Spirit shook his head. Yin Dao was killed by you guys, so you should be the ones taking care of it. What does it have to do with us? As soon as the Fire Spirit finished his words, Li Mingxue roared. Then, a dazzling saber radiance flashed in front of him and attacked him. Seeing this, the Fire Spirit jumped in fright. He quickly jumped and dodged the blade. Li Mingxue, you're too shameless. You always sneak up on me. The Fire Spirit couldn't finish a sentence. Li Mingshui's saber missed, but he didn't stop. A saber light flashed and slashed towards the Fire Spirit. Fire Spirit didn't dare to be careless. He quickly jumped and dodged Li Mingshui's attack. Seeing that the Fire Spirit dodged two of his attacks, Li Mingxue was furious. He suddenly shouted, Fire Spirit, don't run if you have the guts. As he spoke, the saber light in front of Li Mingxue suddenly shone brightly. It was like a waterfall that attacked the Fire Spirit. Seeing Li Mingshui's attack, the Fire Spirit was shocked. He knew that Li Mingxue had used all his strength. This wasn't a joke. If it was an attack like the one just now, the biggest advantage was that he didn't use all his strength. Therefore, he could use it freely. Even if the saber hit the enemy's body, he could easily take it back. But if he used all his strength, although the power increased, he couldn't use it freely. This was because this was the price of increasing the power. Since Li Mingxue was serious, the Fire Spirit naturally didn't dare to be careless. He quickly stomped his feet and jumped into the air. Like lightning, he flew over Li Mingshui's head. When he flew over Li Mingshui's head, the Fire Spirit suddenly threw out a punch towards Li Mingshui's head. Li Mingxue sneered. He stepped to the side and tilted his head, dodging the Fire Spirit's attack. Using this force, the saber in his hand suddenly jumped up. It drew an arc in the air and chased after the Fire Spirit in the air. The Fire Spirit's attack missed, and he flew far away. But before he landed on the ground, he suddenly felt a chill on his back. He immediately knew that things weren't going well. Li Mingshui's saber was already chasing after the Fire Spirit from behind, but he didn't expect the Fire Spirit to suddenly punch the ground. He once again flew forward like lightning and narrowly dodged Li Mingshui's attack. The Fire Spirit quickly landed on the ground. Just as he steadied himself, he suddenly realized that his forehead was full of cold sweat. If he didn't dodge quickly, he might have been hit by Li Mingshui's saber. Thinking of this, the Fire Spirit looked at Li Mingxue in front of him and gritted his teeth. Li Mingxue, do you really want to fight? Li Mingxue raised the saber in his hand. Looking at the sharp blade, he lightly said, Fire Spirit, I'll say the same thing. You injured our godly saber sex people. We can't just let it go like this. You must compensate us. Otherwise, we will seek justice for our godly saber sex disciples. After hearing Li Mingshui's words, the Fire Spirit angrily said, Yin Dao, you were the ones who killed him. Why do you want us to seek justice for you? Li Mingxue, aren't you being a bit too unreasonable? Li Mingxue shook his head. I admit that Yin Dao was killed by us, but the main reason is because of you. At this point, Li Mingxue paused for a moment before continuing. If it weren't for you injuring Silver Knife, how could there have been so much trouble? If it weren't for you injuring Silver Knife, how could he have died for that piece of equipment? In the end, it's all because of you. You are the source of this incident, so you must be responsible for it. Otherwise, I will never let you go. After hearing Li Mingshui's words, the Fire Spirit was about to speak, but Water Spirit suddenly spoke up. Li Mingxue, you guys are too shameless. Dao was being unreasonable because he was a madman. We didn't bother with him. I thought that since Dao was killed, there would be no more trouble. I didn't think that your brothers would be the same. Speaking up to here, Water Spirit paused and sighed before continuing. The reason why Dao is like this is because he's a madman, but you Li brothers are also being unreasonable. Could it be that you're also crazy? Li Ming Shui, we still have a lot of things to do. Don't waste any more time. Chapter 581. After hearing Shui Lingzi's words, Li Mingshan's face turned red as he stepped forward and said loudly, Shui Lingzi, we also don't want to do this, but Dao is still a disciple of our godly sword sect. If he was killed like this, as a protector of the godly sword sect, can you just let us stand by and do nothing? Shui Lingzi sighed. Li Mingshan, we've wasted enough time. I think we should settle this matter as soon as possible and not waste any more time. Speaking up to here, Shui Lingzi paused for a moment before continuing. Li Mingshan, I've also wasted enough time. Tell me, how do you want me to compensate you? As long as I can accept the price, I'll compensate you. Let's not waste any more time. As soon as Shui Lingzi finished speaking, Li Mingshui didn't wait for Li Mingshan to speak and said, Shui Lingzi, you and Dao had an agreement. Because of Dao's injuries, you can reward him with a level 25 equipment. Speaking up to here, Li Mingshui paused for a moment before continuing. Shui Lingzi, as long as you compensate us with a level 25 equipment, this matter will be considered over. After hearing Li Mingshui's words, Shui Lingzi sighed and turned to look at Li Mingshan. She bitterly smiled and asked, Li Mingshan, could it be that you also want me to compensate you with a level 25 equipment? Hearing Shui Lingzi's question, Li Mingshan hesitated for a moment before nodding and slowly saying, Shui Lingzi, the conditions were agreed upon by you and Dao. It wasn't what we brothers wanted. Although Dao is no longer here, I think we shouldn't change the conditions that were agreed upon. Speaking up to here, Li Mingshan paused for a moment before continuing. Shui Lingzi, you should follow the conditions that were agreed upon and compensate us with a level 25 equipment. Just as Li Mingshan's voice fell, the grumpy fire spirit snapped. Li Mingshan, Li Mingshui, I think you should just dream. You can have anything in your dreams. After hearing fire spirit's words, Li Mingshan's face turned slightly red. He knew that his actions were not very good, but for the sake of that level 25 equipment, he had to do it. Li Mingshan lightly coughed, then slowly said, Fire Spirit, don't be angry at me. When Water Spirit and Silver Knife were talking, you were also there, so you should have heard it. Water Spirit said that he wanted to compensate Silver Knife with a level 25 equipment. It wasn't us brothers who randomly gave a price, so what right do you have to be angry at us? Hearing this, Li Mingshan hurriedly said, That's right, Fire Spirit. Are you deaf? It was clearly Water Spirit who said it. It wasn't us who made the conditions. How can you blame us for it? At this point, Li Mingshui paused and suddenly sneered before continuing. Don't tell me that the great Tiangongman's consecrator would go back on his word. After hearing the Li brothers' words, Fire Spirit was stunned for a moment. He subconsciously turned to look at Water Spirit, and for a moment, he couldn't say anything. The reason why Fire Spirit couldn't refute this was because the Li brothers were right. For some reason, Water Spirit had promised Silver Knife that she would compensate him with a level 25 equipment. This was absolutely true, so Fire Spirit couldn't refute it. Water Spirit also sighed in her heart. The reason why she said that was because she already expected that this level 25 equipment would become a bait, provoking everyone to fight for it. When the time came, she would be the fisherman who reaped the benefits and become the final winner. But she didn't expect that even though Wu Kadi and Li Mingshan started fighting, it wasn't as intense as she imagined. After fighting for a short while, when there were no casualties, they stopped. According to Water Spirit's estimation, for the level 25 equipment, the Wu brothers and the Li brothers would fight until the end. It couldn't be helped that they woke up so quickly. Seeing that Shui's spirit didn't speak, Li Shanshan's confidence increased a lot. He sneered and said, "Shui Spirit, I'm not wrong. Everyone here heard what I said. You promised Silver Knife that you would give him a level 25 equipment as compensation. Water Spirit, are you going to go back on your words again?" After hearing Li Mingshan's words, Water Spirit was furious. She could see that there were no normal people in the Godly Sword sect. Originally, she thought that since the crazy Silver Knife was killed, this matter would be over. She didn't think that the crazy Li Mingshan would appear. Silver Knife was crazy, but he was easy to deal with because his martial arts weren't high. As long as Water Spirit wanted to, she could teach him a lesson at any time. But the Li brothers were different. Their martial arts weren't below hers. If they didn't listen to reason, then this matter wouldn't be easy to deal with. Thinking of this, Water Spirit sighed. She looked up at Li Mingshan and slowly said, "Li Mingshan, I don't need to say what kind of person Silver Knife is, but are you also that kind of person?" Speaking up to here, Water Spirit paused for a moment before continuing. "Li Mingshan, don't you know how precious level 25 equipment is? It's not easy for an ordinary person to even see a level 25 equipment, let alone get one. Li Mingshan, where do you want me to find such precious equipment for you? Even if I agree, do you think the Tiangongman will compensate you?" After hearing Water Spirit's words, Li Mingshan couldn't help but sigh in his heart. He was also very clear that asking Water Spirit to compensate for a level 25 equipment was a bit too much. Although Water Spirit was a consecrated of the Tiangongman, Li Mingshan was sure that she didn't have level 25 equipment. In the entire South County, level 25 equipment was very rare. However, Li Mingshan thought about it again. The Tiangongman were a sect that specialized in forging equipment. If they could get a level 25 equipment, then they would definitely have a way. Although the chances of getting Water Spirit to compensate with a level 25 equipment were slim, as long as there was a chance, Li Mingshan wasn't willing to give it up. Just think about it. If you could have a piece of level 25 equipment, how great would that be? Thinking about having a level 25 equipment, Li Mingshan was very excited. After hearing Water Spirit's words, Li Mingshan pondered for a moment before slowly saying, "Water Spirit, you can't blame me for this matter. It was you and Silver Knife who made the conditions, so we had to follow them." Li Mingshui suddenly said, "Water Spirit, when you talked about the conditions with Silver Knife, were you lying to him?" Speaking up to here, Li Mingshui paused for a moment before continuing, "No, you are a consecrated of the Tiangongman. Why would you lie to a small disciple of the Godly Knife sect? If you really did that, then wouldn't you be laughed at by the world?" Chapter 582. After hearing Li Mingshan's words, Shui Lingzi paused for a moment before shaking her head. "Li Mingshan, don't say any more. Now that Yin Dao is gone, the equipment issue is naturally invalid." Shadowless saw that the two were still talking and couldn't solve the problem, so he slowly stepped forward and said loudly, "Li Mingshan, since Yin Dao is no longer here, and you are also responsible, why don't we just let this matter go? Everyone should hurry up and deal with this matter. That's the best plan." After hearing Shadowless' words, Shui Lingzi quickly nodded. "That's right, Li Mingshan. Even without Yin Dao's level 25 equipment, you still have the 2 level 20 equipment I gave you." Speaking up to here, Water Spirit paused for a moment before continuing. "Li Mingshan, I won't compensate you for the level 25 equipment. You should be very clear about this. I think it's best if we don't hurt each other's feelings." Hearing this, Li Mingshan shook his head and sneered. "If we just let it go like this, then what about Yin Dao's matter? Once his family asks, how are we going to answer?" Shadowless quickly said, "Li Mingshan, didn't Shui Lingzi give us 2 level 20 equipment? Isn't that good too?" Li Mingshan shook his head. "Shadowless, this has nothing to do with you. I hope you won't meddle in other people's business." After hearing Li Shanshan's words, Shadowless was stunned for a moment. Then, he became angry out of humiliation. "Li Shanshan, I was kind enough to help you solve this problem, but you still want to talk back. Don't you think that's too much?" This time, before Li Mingshan could speak, Li Mingxue spoke up first. Shadowless, it's not that my big brother is going too far. It's just that this matter shouldn't be handled by you. After hearing the two's words, Shadowless sighed. Fine, I won't meddle in this matter. If you want to fight, then fight. After saying this, Shadowless took a few steps back and put some distance between Li Mingshan and the others, indicating that he wouldn't meddle in this matter. Seeing that Shadowless left, Li Mingshan turned to Shui Lingzi and slowly said, Shui Lingzi, this matter, how do you think we should solve it? Shui Lingzi shook her head. No matter what, I won't compensate you with level 25 equipment. It's not that I don't want to, but I can't. I'm sure you know this. After listening to Water Spirit's words, Li Shan couldn't help but frown. After a while, he slowly said, Water Spirit, then tell me, what kind of equipment can you equip a silver blade with? Shui Lingzi thought for a moment before slowly saying, a level 15 equipment. That's my bottom line. If you're still not satisfied, then this matter. Level 15 equipment. As soon as Water Spirit's voice fell, Li Mingxue cried out in alarm. Water Spirit, how dare you? Silver Knife's condition was clearly that level 25 equipment. How did it become a level 15 equipment? I absolutely won't agree. After hearing Shadowless, Lingzi, you Shadowless, Mingshan, Shadowless. Lingzi had thinking about how the level 25 equipment he was about to obtain had suddenly become a level 15 equipment. Li Shan felt a sense of loss in his heart, making him feel as if his heart was being clenched. It was as if the original price was a piece of gold, but in the end, the price was only a copper coin. The difference between the two pieces of equipment was like heaven and earth. Li Mingshan couldn't accept it. Li Mingshan sighed. Shui Lingzi, if you were me, would you agree? Hearing Li Mingshan's question, Shui Lingzi nodded without hesitation. Li Mingshan, even if it's only level 15 equipment, it's like it fell from the sky. This is an unexpected surprise. What's there to be unhappy about? Speaking up to here, Shui Lingzi paused for a moment before continuing. Li Mingshan, a piece of equipment that fell from the sky. Although it's not the level 25 equipment you're thinking about, it's still a pleasant surprise. Am I wrong? After hearing Shui Lingzi's words, Li Mingshan clenched his teeth. Shui Lingzi, asking you to take out a level 25 equipment might be a bit difficult for you, but you can't lower the price so much. Directly changing a level 25 equipment to a level 15 equipment, isn't that a bit inappropriate? Shui Lingzi shook her head and suddenly sneered. Li Mingshan, you've been in Jianghu for a long time. Have you ever heard of compensation for injuring someone? After hearing Shui Lingzi's words, Li Mingshan was at a loss for words. He had been in Jianghu for a long time, but he had never heard of this kind of thing. Whether it was the two sides agreeing to a duel or enemies enraging each other. In short, after a fight, there were very few people who wanted compensation. Maybe there were, but the number was really too small. Most of the time, they hated their own martial arts for not being good enough and losing to the enemy. At that time, what the loser wanted the most was not how to get compensation from the other side, but how to improve their martial arts to get revenge. There really weren't many people like him. At the beginning, the reason why Li Mingshan didn't immediately appear was because of this reason. Even if he wanted compensation, he couldn't bring himself to do it. Therefore, he didn't come out until Silver Knife couldn't hold on any longer. Only then did he come out to uphold justice for Silver Knife. Now that Silver Knife had been killed by him, it was really not right for him to still be here. Seeing that Li Mingshan didn't want to speak, Shui Lingzi smiled and said, Li Mingshan, in fact, level 15 equipment is also very good. Although it's a bit different from level 25 equipment, it's still better than nothing, right? Hearing Water Spirit's words, Li Mingshan clenched his teeth and said, Water Spirit, level 15 equipment is too low. How about this? I don't want that level 25 equipment. I'll just give you a level 20 equipment, and let's call it quits. Shui Lingzi, what do you think? Shui Lingzi shook her head. Li Mingshan, we're all smart people. A level 20 equipment is very precious. Do you think I'll compensate you for something like Silver Knife? Speaking up to here, Shui Lingzi paused for a moment before continuing. Li Mingshan, the reason why I'm compensating you with a level 15 equipment is not because of Silver Knife, but because I don't want to hurt our friendship over such a small matter. Li Mingshan, I admit that Silver Knife was injured, but the one who killed him was you. If we really want to find out who's responsible for this matter, it would seem that your responsibility is greater. So, I think we should both take a step back and call it quits. What do you think? After hearing Shui Lingzi's words, Li Mingshan couldn't help but frown even more. He knew that as long as he nodded, he would get the level 15 equipment and this matter would be completely settled. However, Li Mingshan still felt a bit unwilling. He could have gotten a level 25 equipment, but now he only got a level 15 equipment. Chapter 583. After a while, Li Shan clenched his teeth and nodded. Water Spirit, since you don't want to hurt our relationship, then I won't make things difficult for you. 2 level 15 equipment, as long as you agree, this matter can be considered settled. After hearing Li Mingshan's words, Shui Lingzi's brows wrinkled. Li Mingshan, what I just said is already very clear. I didn't give you the equipment to compensate for the silver blade, but because I don't want to hurt the relationship between us, so I took the initiative to take a step back. But if you continue to be so aggressive, then I have no other choice but to cancel this matter. Hearing this, Li Shan sighed. Water Spirit, I also don't want to, but you should know that a level 15 equipment can only be worn by the two of us. Speaking up to here, Li Shan paused and turned to look at Li Mingshui before continuing. Water Spirit, the two of us brothers are here. Tell me, which one of us should wear the level 15 equipment you gave us? After hearing Li Shan's words, Water Spirit was stunned. She didn't think that Li Shan would have such a ridiculous reason. Water Spirit wanted to grab Li Shan and ask him, even if the two of them had equipment, then what about their wives and children's equipment? Thinking up to here, Water Spirit said with some displeasure, Li Shan, I don't care who wears the equipment. It's your own business. Speaking up to here, Water Spirit paused for a moment before continuing. To be honest, even if I compensate you with this level 15 equipment, it's still my personal item, and I'm just trying to make friends with you. But if you want to do this, then wouldn't I be giving you this equipment for nothing, and you'll even complain? After hearing Water Spirit's words, Li Shan was a bit annoyed. Water Spirit, I've already taken a step back and won't haggle with you about the level 25 equipment. Can't you take a step back and give me 2 level 15 equipment? Water Spirit shook her head. Whether it's level 15 equipment or level 25 equipment, they don't just fall from the sky. They're all obtained through my hard work. Now that I'm willing to give you the level 15 equipment that I worked so hard to obtain, I think I'm being very sincere. If you're still not satisfied, then I can only say sorry. Speaking up to here, Water Spirit's eyes suddenly lit up as she smiled and said, Li Mingshan, if you feel that this level 15 equipment isn't easy to distribute, then I have an idea. How about I give you 2 level 10 equipment? That way, you 2 brothers can each have one. Nonsense. As soon as Water Spirit's voice fell, Li Mingshui angrily shouted, Water Spirit, you dare to say such words? You reduced our level 25 equipment to level 15, and now you want to give us 2 level 10 equipment? Speaking up to here, Li Mingshui's tone paused. He took a few deep breaths to suppress the anger in his heart before continuing. Water Spirit, don't go too far. Do you think that us brothers are easy to bully? After hearing Li Mingshui's words, Water Spirit hurriedly shook her head. Li Mingshui, you misunderstood. When I said I'll give you 2 level 10 equipment, I meant 2 pieces. My purpose is to let you 2 brothers distribute them. Speaking up to here, Water Spirit's tone paused for a moment before continuing. Li Mingshui, if you don't want to, then it's fine. I can also give you 2 level 15 equipment. After hearing Water Spirit's words, Li Mingshan's eyes flashed as he thought about how to solve this problem. In fact, at the very beginning, that level 25 equipment did attract Li Mingshan. He also understood that he would never wear that equipment. Although that equipment's defense was amazing, it wouldn't bring him any safety. On the contrary, it would bring him a lot of danger. So, even if he got a level 25 equipment, the final result would be to give it away or sell it. However, this level 15 equipment was different. He definitely wouldn't sell it, so he could only wear it. If the equipment was sold, or if there were any benefits, the two brothers could divide it equally. But if there was only one level 15 equipment, how would they divide it? Although level 10 equipment was low, it was only relatively speaking. Level 10 equipment was actually very good, but compared to level 25 equipment, it was a bit unbearable. According to Li Mingshan and Li Mingshan's status, wearing a level 10 equipment was just right. More importantly, Water Spirit would give them 2 level 10 equipment, so there was no need to divide it. Thinking up to here, Li Mingshan looked up at Water Spirit. Water Spirit, since it's like this, then 2 level 10 equipment. Hearing Li Mingshan's words, Water Spirit was suddenly overjoyed. Li Mingshan, good. This matter is settled then. Li Shan silently nodded, but there was an inexplicable feeling in his heart. He kept thinking about it. From that level 25 equipment to 2 pieces of level 10 equipment, the difference was like heaven and earth. This was also because Li Mingshan had a strong mind. People like Silverblade would have already become abnormal because of this kind of joy. Now that the matter had been satisfactorily resolved, Shui Lingzi felt as if a huge stone had been lifted from his heart. He looked around and said with a smile, "Thank you, everyone. I will fulfill my promise as soon as possible. Please don't worry. I, Shui Lingzi, am not someone who goes back on his words." Speaking up to here, Water Spirit's tone paused. He once again cupped his fist towards everyone and continued, "It's not early anymore. I will now take the people from Kikyaman away. We will meet again someday." After saying this, Water Spirit turned his head and gave Fire Spirit a look. The two of them then walked towards Kikyaman. Who knew that when the two of them took a few steps, they heard Shadowless roar. "Wait, do you want to leave just like this?" Hearing Shadowless's words, Water Spirit turned his head in confusion. "Shadowless, do you have something else to say?" Shadowless nodded. "Water Spirit, the conditions we talked about just now, with just one sentence from you, I don't feel reassured. I think, why don't we make a contract so that everyone can rest assured?" Speaking up to here, he paused and turned to look at the people around him before continuing, "Everyone, let's have Shui Lingzi write a contract for all of us. What do you think?" Naturally, no one had any objections to Shadowless's suggestion. Although Water Spirit said that each family would get 2 level 20 equipment, especially Li Mingshan who would get 2 more level 10 equipment, this was only a verbal agreement. However, this was only a verbal agreement. Everyone was still worried. Now that they heard Shadowless's suggestion, they all agreed with him. Wu Kadi loudly said, "Shadowless is right. We should make a contract." Chapter 584. Hearing everyone's words, Shui Lingzi couldn't help but frown. His original plan was to bring back Kikyaman's people first. If Kikyaman's secret was real, then creating a few level 20 equipment would be a very easy matter. But if it was fake, then it wouldn't be so easy. One could just imagine how difficult it was to forge a piece of level 20 equipment with level 20 fine gold and deep sea frost body. Shui Lingzi had already thought it through. If Kikyaman's secret was fake, then he would at most pay them half of the equipment, or even not pay them a single piece. At that time, as long as the two brothers disappeared, these people would naturally have no evidence and the equipment issue would be left unsettled. But if there was a written agreement, then it wouldn't be so easy. As long as they had the written agreement, even if the Water Spirit brothers were killed, as long as these people took the written agreement to the Heaven's Craftsman Gate, the Heaven's Craftsman Gate would take out 6 pieces of level 20 equipment for the sake of their reputation. It was because of this reason that Shui Lingzi agreed to pay them 6 level 20 equipment. Naturally, he wanted to avoid this debt at the crucial moment. So, a written agreement couldn't be written. Once it was written, then there would be no turning back. If Kikyaman's secret was fake, then the Tyangalman's losses would be too great. Not only would the Tyangalmans suffer a great loss, but would also be impossible for Shui Lingzi and his brother to stay in the Tiangongmen. Thinking up to here, Shui Lingzi forced a smile and waved his hand. Time is of the essence right now, so I think we should just forget about this. Don't you even trust me? You can ask around. Shui Lingzi, always keep my word and have never lied to my friends. Hearing Shui Lingzi's words, Shadowless shook his head. Shui Lingzi, you may not have lied to your friends, but we're not your friends, so you might lie to us. Shui Lingzi shook his head. Brother Shadowless, don't worry. As long as I promise you, I will definitely give you the 2 level 20 equipment. Shadowless shook his head again. Shui Lingzi, forget it. My memory isn't that good, so I might forget. Wouldn't that be a big loss? I think it's better for us to write a written agreement. Shui Lingzi shook his head and pointed at the sky. Brother Shadowless, you can see that it's getting late. We've been researching since last night, so I want to bring them back as soon as possible. What if they think something happened to me and come to rescue me? That wouldn't be good for both of us. Shadowless waved his hand. It doesn't matter, since we're all friends. Even if they come, we can just drink together. Maybe we can even deepen our friendship's relationship. Hearing Shadowless's words, Shadowless's, Brother Shadowless, what are you saying? Don't tell me you don't want the agreement. At this point, Wu Kadi paused for a moment, but he didn't wait for Shui Lingzi to reply and continued. Shui Lingzi, could it be that you never planned to give us the equipment? You're just trying to trick us. Shui Lingzi, am I right? As soon as Wu Kadi's voice fell, before Shui Lingzi could reply, Li Mingshan had already arrived in front of everyone and shouted, Shui Lingzi, I already promised that I won't take your level 25 equipment. If you don't even give us the equipment you promised, then I won't agree. Seeing the 3 aggressively walking in front of her, Shui Lingzi couldn't help but frown. At this moment, she suddenly hoped that the 3 people in front of her would suddenly become like silver knives. Everyone, it's not that I don't want to give you the agreement, but as you can see, it's getting late. We came in the middle of the night, but look at what time it is now. It's almost noon. Shui Lingzi paused for a moment before continuing. Don't worry, I won't go back on my word. It's mainly because time is tight and I can't wait any longer. How about this? You guys go to the town in front and wait for me. As soon as I bring the Kikyaman people back, I'll immediately come back and give you the agreement. After hearing Shui Lingzi's words, Shadowless loudly said, No, if you want the agreement, then do it now. We don't have much time to accompany you to the town in front. Water Spirit heard this and quickly waved her hand. Wu Kadi, you're right. Time is of the essence right now, and everyone is very busy. How about this? Everyone can go about their business first, and after we're done, I'll write a receipt for everyone. What do you think? After hearing Shui Lingzi's words, Shadowless immediately shook his head. Nothing. Why do I feel like you want to go back on your word? Shui Lingzi shook her head. Brother Shadowless, don't worry. I'm not that kind of person. As long as I promise to give you the equipment, I'll definitely give it to you. Don't worry. Shadowless shook his head. Shui Lingzi, no matter what you say, I still think that it's better for you to write the agreement. Shadowless paused for a moment before continuing. Shui Lingzi, it's not that I don't believe you, but this matter is very important. 2 level 20 equipment might be insignificant to you Tiangongmen, but in my eyes, it's very important. I can't afford to lose it. So, you should hurry up and write the agreement so that we can rest assured. After hearing Shadowless's words, Shui Lingzi quickly shook her head. It's getting late, and we don't have a pen and paper. If we go find them, we'll waste more time. How about this? You guys go ahead and find the pen and paper while we bring the people back. When you find the pen and paper, we'll be back soon, and we'll immediately give you the agreement. We won't go back on our word. As soon as Shui Lingzi finished speaking, Li Mingshan smiled and said, Shui Lingzi, so you're worried about not having a pen and paper. Don't worry, since we don't have a pen and paper, I'm sure that the people from Kikyaman will have them. As long as we borrow their pen and paper, we'll be able to quickly write the agreement. After hearing Li Mingshan's words, Wu Kadi immediately clapped his hands. That's right, the people from Kikyaman are moving this time, so they'll definitely have them. As long as we ask, they'll definitely send them over. Hearing the two's words, Shui Lingzi secretly complained. She quickly thought about how to solve this problem. She definitely couldn't write the agreement. If she did, then she'd be shackling herself. If she wanted to break free from the shackle, then she could only use equipment to exchange for it. Chapter 585. Shui Lingzi didn't want to write a contract, but Wu Kedi and the other two weren't willing to let her. Shui Lingzi was desperately trying to think of a way to refuse the request of these three. Seeing Shui Lingzi frowning, Li Shan suddenly sneered. Shui Lingzi, don't tell me that you didn't want to write a contract with us in the first place. You just want to renege on the debt. Shui Lingzi shook her head. Li Shan, why would you think that? Am I, Shui Lingzi, the kind of person who would renege on a debt? Li Shan sighed. Shui Lingzi, I hope you aren't. Because of these few pieces of equipment, our godly sword sect's disciple Dao has already died. I also took the initiative to drop my level 25 equipment to level 10 equipment. My goal is to not make things difficult for you. But if you still want to renege on the debt, then let me tell you, I, Li Shan, will not let you go. Hearing Li Shan's words, Shui Lingzi hurriedly waved her hand. I won't. Before Shui Lingzi could finish her words, Li Shan waved his hand and interrupted. Shui Lingzi, since you won't, then that's fine. Speaking up to here, Li Shan paused and turned to look at one of the godly sword sect disciples. Go to Kikyaman and borrow some paper, ink and paper. Hearing Li Shan's words, Shui Lingzi's face suddenly changed. She wanted to stop him, but seeing Wu Kedi and Shadowless looking at her, she quickly swallowed the words she wanted to say. Not long after, the godly sword sect's disciples brought over a pen, paper, and a small porcelain bottle from Kikyaman and handed it to Li Shan. Li Mingshan placed the paper on a relatively flat place on the ground and handed the pen to Shui Lingzi. Shui Lingzi, you can write it now. Shui Lingzi silently took the pen handed over by Li Mingshan and suddenly said, Don't you guys trust me that much? Shadowless nodded. This is a serious matter. It's not that we don't trust you, but after you write the contract, our hearts will be at ease. Wu Kedi was also very clear that no matter how good Shui's spirit's words were, there was no written agreement. As long as Shui's spirit's face was thick, he could renege on his debt at any time. Only with Water Spirit's written agreement would this matter be settled, and he would be able to obtain the 2 level 20 equipment. Although Wu Ku was regretful that he didn't get the level 25 equipment, it couldn't be helped. The 2 pieces of level 20 equipment were enough to make him extremely happy. Li Shan couldn't help but sigh in his heart. He was sighing over the level 25 equipment. If he hadn't been overconfident and let Wu Kedi mess around, the level 25 equipment would have already been in his hands. Water Spirit and Silver Knife reached an agreement and agreed to compensate Silver Knife with a piece of level 25 equipment. Thinking of this, Li Shan's heart felt like it was being twisted by a knife. He wished he could dig it out and see what kind of mistake he made to make such a stupid decision. Now, there were only 2 pieces of level 10 equipment left. Among the crowd, the one with the worst mood was naturally Shui Lingzi. Because Li Shan placed the white paper on the ground, Shui Lingzi could only sit on the ground if she wanted to write on it. Shui Lingzi sat on the ground while Li Shan and the others looked at her from the side. This made Shui Lingzi feel like she was signing something, which was extremely uncomfortable. Seeing that Shui Lingzi wasn't willing to write, Shadowless hurriedly urged, Shui Lingzi, hurry up and write. It's already late, and you're in a hurry to go back. What are you waiting for? Don't you want to write? Wu Kedi also sneered. Shui Lingzi, do you really want to renege on your debt? Li Shan also sneered. Shui Lingzi, since the agreement has been set, you can't renege on your debt. Hurry up and write. Hearing the words of the 3, Shui Lingzi could no longer suppress the anger in his heart. He jumped up, threw the pen in his hand far away, and shouted angrily. What's wrong with you people? You don't trust me, right? I'll tell you, I don't trust you either. Speaking up to here, Shui Lingzi paused for a moment before continuing. Since you're forcing me, then I'll let this matter go. I won't write a contract. You could do whatever you want. Hearing Shui Lingzi's roar, Li Shan and the others were stunned for a moment before looking at each other. Shadowless looked at the white paper on the ground, and then looked at the furious Shui Lingzi. He suddenly turned to look at Wu Kedi and blinked. Wu Kedi saw Shadowless blinking at him, and suddenly woke up. He pondered for a moment before gently nodding. Shadowless saw this, and nodded with a smile, before turning to Li Shan and blinking again. Li Shan saw that Wu Kedi and Shadowless were blinking at him. He wasn't an idiot and immediately understood. He turned to look at Shui Lingzi and gently nodded. Seeing the mysterious actions of the three, Shui Lingzi was taken aback, and cold sweat dripped down her forehead. What do you want?" Hearing Shui Lingzi's question, Shadowless shook his head and lightly said, "Shui Lingzi, we don't want to do anything. We just want to see what you want." Shui Lingzi heard this and suddenly said loudly, "Today's matter is over. I won't take away Kikyaman's people." "Shut up." Before Shui Lingzi finished, she was interrupted by Li Shan's shout. "Shui Lingzi, who do you think we are? Do you think we can do whatever you want?" Speaking up to here, Li Shan paused for a moment, but then he didn't wait for Shui Lingzi to reply and continued. "Shui Lingzi, we've been playing with you for an entire night. Do you think we'll let this matter go just because you say so? Do you think it's that simple? Who do you think we are?" Shadowless sneered and said, "Shui Lingzi, I'll tell you the truth. If you obediently write a contract today, this matter will be over." Shadowless paused for a moment before continuing. "Shui Lingzi, if you don't, then don't blame us for being impolite." Hearing what Shadowless said, the fire spirit on the side was furious. He took a step forward and shouted, "Shadowless, what do you want?" Wu Kedi sneered, "Fire spirit, you've been playing with us for an entire night. It's time to pay the price. Today's contract, you'll have to write it whether you want to or not." After hearing Wu Kedi's words, the fire spirit immediately laughed out loud. He pointed at Wu Kedi and said loudly, "Wu Kedi, what do you want? Do you dare to make a move?" Wu Kedi took a step forward and said coldly, "Fire spirit, if you don't write it, then we won't be polite." Hearing Wu Kedi's words, Shadowless also stepped forward. Chapter 586. Water Spirit subconsciously took a few steps back, but Fire Spirit didn't notice. He suddenly shouted, "Shadowless, if I don't write it, what can you do to me?" After hearing Fire Spirit's words, Shadowless gave Wu Kedi and Li Mingshan a look. Seeing that the two understood, he coldly said, "Fire Spirit, I'll give you one more chance. Are you going to write it or not?" Fire Spirit laughed coldly. "I've never seen someone make someone write a contract like this. I want to see what you can do to me if I don't write it." Just as Fire Spirit finished speaking, he heard Shadowless snort coldly. In the next moment, Shadowless was already throwing a punch at him. Seeing that Shadowless dared to sneak attack him, Fire Spirit sneered. However, a moment later, cold sweat started appearing on his forehead. Li Mingshan and Wu Kedi, one on the left and the other on the right, had already blocked his escape routes behind Shadowless. "You dare!" The fire spirit could only roar as he stomped on the ground. Like a bolt of lightning, he leaped into the sky. Shadowless and the other two were attacking from three sides. No matter if Fire Spirit dodged left or right or faced Shadowless head-on, he would be in a passive position. His only chance of survival was above them. Shadowless sneered when he saw Fire Spirit jump into the air. His fist changed direction and chased after Fire Spirit in the air. The three of them changed in an instant. Water Spirit, who was behind Fire Spirit, saw that the situation was bad and quickly threw a punch at Shadowless, wanting to help Fire Spirit. However, Shadowless had expected this. His attack on Fire Spirit was just a feint. Seeing Water Spirit rush over, Shadowless took back his fist and threw another punch at Water Spirit. Seeing the sudden attack of the three, Shui Lingzi roared and increased the strength of her fist, wanting to defeat Shadowless in one fell swoop. Shadowless's Qigong was very good, but his fist strength was definitely not Water Spirit's opponent. If their fists collided, Shadowless would be the one at a disadvantage. Just as Water Spirit and Shadowless's fists were about to collide, Water Spirit, who had been paying attention to Fire Spirit's movements, suddenly had a change in expression. Wu Kedi and Li Mingshan, one on the left and one on the right, jumped up from the ground and chased after the Fire Spirit in the air like two bolts of lightning. Seeing this, Water Spirit was shocked. Seeing that it was too late, she could only roar and throw a punch at Shadowless. She wanted to finish Shadowless as soon as possible so that she could help Fire Spirit out of this situation. However, it was too late. The Fire Spirit in the air also knew that things were not going well. His eyes suddenly widened as he let out a low roar. His fists split into left and right as he attacked Wu Kedi and Li Mingshan. Water Spirit and Shadowless's fists. Shadowless and Shadowless's fists. Shadowless was sent flying far away. Shui Lingzi was also forced back 2 or 3 steps by the force of the collision. She barely managed to stabilize herself. Then, she stomped on the ground again and shot towards Wu Kedi like a cannonball. But it was too late. Wu Kedi and Li Mingshan attacked for both sides. The Fire Spirit wanted to block one of their attacks, but their martial arts were about the same. Adding on the sudden sneak attack from Wu Kedi and Li Mingshan, the Fire Spirit panicked and was forced to fight back. Naturally, the strength of his fists would be weaker. When the three's fists collided, Fire Spirit let out a muffled groan. He quickly landed on the ground, and before he could stabilize himself, he opened his mouth and spat out a mouthful of blood. Water Spirit was so angry that her eyes were about to burst. Her fists were about to reach Wu Kedi. Wu Kedi and Li Mingshan had joined forces to heavily injure Fire Spirit. Before he could feel proud, he felt a gust of wind coming from the side. He was shocked and quickly waved his arms to block this attack, but it was too late. Water Spirit Z caught Wu Kedi off guard, and her fist landed on Wu Kedi's ribs. Shui Lingzi's punch was filled with anger. So how could it be a small matter? Wu Kedi only felt his side being hit by a huge force, and a heart-wrenching pain spread through his body. It caused his stomach to churn, and he was also sent flying far away. Wu Kedi tumbled in the air and landed on the ground. Then he sat up and spat out a mouthful of blood. Water Spirit saw that Fire Spirit was vomiting blood and was furious. She roared and threw another punch at Li Mingshan, who had just landed on the ground. Li Mingshan saw that Wu Kedi was sent flying and was already prepared. Before Water Spirit could rush over, he grabbed the handle of his saber and pulled it out. In the next moment, a saber light appeared and blocked in front of Water Spirit. Although Shui Lingzi was angry, she also knew how powerful Li Mingshan's saber was. Water Spirit saw that Li Mingshan had already pulled out his saber and quickly dodged. She went around the dazzling saber light and attacked Li Mingshan from the side. With his saber in hand, Li Mingshan's spirit soared. Seeing Shui Lingzi attacking him, he wasn't afraid at all. He simply flicked his saber back, preparing to block Shui Lingzi's attack. Li Mingshan had just pulled back his saber and was about to block Water Spirit's fist when he suddenly heard a roar and a gust of wind. Li Mingshan was shocked and didn't care about Water Spirit anymore. He took 2 steps back and dragged his saber. However, it was too late. The Fire Spirit had already climbed up from the ground. His eyes were glaring as if they were about to spit fire. He waved his fists and attacked from the front. Li Mingshan wanted to block again, but it was too late. He could only use his other fist to meet Fire Spirit's attack. Seeing that Li Shan only cared about blocking the Fire Spirit Z, Water Spirit Z sneered. She suddenly accelerated and rushed towards Li Shan. Before he could react, she immediately threw out a punch towards Li Shan. Li Mingshan heard the wind whistling around him and knew that it was not good. But since he was facing Fire Spirit, he could only wave his saber to block Water Spirit's attack. Fire Spirit's attack arrived as well. Their fists collided, and Fire Spirit cried out in pain as he took 2 steps back. Although Fire Spirit was forced back, Li Mingshan was not in a good condition. His saber hand was hit by Water Spirit's fist. It was so painful that he almost threw his saber away. Seeing this, Water Spirit was overjoyed. She rushed forward and continued to chase Li Mingshan. Seeing Li Mingshan retreat, Shui Lingzi hurriedly threw out a punch. But just as her fist was thrown out, she felt a cold light coming from his side. Water Spirit knew that this was not good. She quickly jumped up and wanted to dodge the attack. However, Li Mingshui sneered. How could it be so easy to dodge this attack? Li Mingshui turned his wrist, and the saber light flew up. Chapter 587. Water Spirit had just jumped up when she felt a chill in her arm. Then, intense pain came from her arm. Water Spirit let out a pitiful cry as she leapt into the air, somersaulting to one side. Li Mingshui didn't want to let her go. Seeing that the blade had only injured Water Spirit's arm, his eyes turned cold. He quickly charged at Water Spirit, who had just landed. Water Spirit's arm was in pain, and seeing Li Mingshui coming at her, she had no choice but to dodge to the side and dodge Li Mingshui's attack. Although Shui Lingzi managed to dodge Li Mingshui's attack, Li Mingshui didn't want to let Shui Lingzi go. Seeing Shui Lingzi retreating to the side, Li Mingshui stomped his foot and his rushing figure came to an abrupt stop. The blade in his hand swept towards Shui Lingzi. Fire Spirit's martial arts were about the same as Li Mingshan's, but Fire Spirit was already heavily injured. That punch from the two of them had actually forced Fire Spirit back. Fire Spirit suppressed the anger in his stomach. When he was about to chase after Li Shan again, he suddenly felt something was wrong. Shadowless was already silently running towards him. If it was a normal time, Fire Spirit wouldn't be afraid of Shadowless. Although Shadowless Qinggong was high, it was still weaker than Fire Spirit. Fire Spirit felt uncomfortable in his stomach and could only grit his teeth and dodge Shadowless's attack. At this time, although Fire Spirit dodged Shadowless's attack, he suddenly heard a cold laugh from beside him. He quickly turned around and saw Wu Ketian swinging his walking stick at him. Seeing this, Fire Spirit was so angry that his eyes were about to explode. These three groups of people were actually attacking together. Wu Ketian, I'll fight you to the death. Fire Spirit roared and suddenly stomped on the ground. His body was like lightning as he charged at Wu Ketian. Seeing Fire Spirit charging at him like a mad tiger, Wu Ketian was a bit regretful. When he charged up, he intentionally coughed because he didn't want to have too much of a grudge with Fire Spirit. However, seeing Fire Spirit in such a state, Wu Ketian knew that his efforts were in vain. He quickly waved his dragon head walking stick and smashed it towards Fire Spirit. The Fire Spirit seemed to have gone crazy. He raised his left arm and swung it at Wu Ketian's dragon head king. He didn't stop as he roared and threw another punch at Wu Ketian. Seeing Fire Spirit fighting so recklessly, Wu Ketian was stunned for a moment. However, he was only stunned for a moment before he lost his great opportunity. Huolingzi and Wu Ketian both screamed and flew backwards. Fire Spirit took a few steps back and felt his numb arm suddenly become painful. It was so painful that he screamed at the sky. Wu Ketian was punched in the stomach by the Fire Spirit and retreated 4 or 5 steps. Then he sat on the ground and spat out a mouthful of blood. Wu Kedi saw that his big brother was beaten to the point of vomiting, so he immediately flew into a rage. He didn't care about his own injuries as he jumped up and rushed toward Fire Spirit. Wu Kedi had just taken 2 steps when a figure appeared in front of Fire Spirit faster than him. While Fire Spirit was in unbearable pain, the figure punched Fire Spirit's stomach. Fire Spirit was hit by Shadowless's punch. He screamed and flew into the air. He fell 7 or 8 meters away. Although Fire Spirit was in extreme pain from the fall, he knew that he had to stand up. There were 6 of them and only 2 of them. If he didn't stand up, he might not be able to stand up again. Fire Spirit endured the pain and stood up with a roar. As soon as he stood up, he saw Wu Kedi madly charging at him. Seeing that it was too late to dodge, The fire spirit could only roar and wave his good fist to meet Wu Kadi's attack. Ah, ah. Wu Kadi and fire spirit's fist collided. Both of them let out a miserable cry at the same time, and both of them were pushed back. Both of them were heavily injured. Although fire spirit was at a greater disadvantage from this attack, Wu Kadi's stomach was still churning from the impact. Before fire spirit could stabilize himself, he saw Shadowless rushing towards him with a cold smile. Fire spirit knew that this was bad. He quickly tried his best to dodge Shadowless's fist. Then, he kicked Shadowless's side. Shadowless's body turned and appeared beside fire spirit. Before he turned around, his fist landed on fire spirit's waist. Fire spirit screamed in pain and staggered a few steps forward before lying on the ground. Seeing that fire spirit was no longer moving, Shadowless didn't chase after him. He turned around and slowly walked towards fire spirit. Shadowless came close to fire spirit and stopped. He looked at fire spirit, who was lying on the ground with his eyes closed and panting. Shadowless suddenly sneered. "Fire spirit, if you agreed to our request, we wouldn't have to do this." Fire spirit was lying on the ground, and Shui spirit wasn't in a good state either. One of Shui spirit's arms was cut by Li Ming Shui. Their martial arts were on par with each other. With Shui spirit's injury, her martial arts dropped a lot. Shui spirit was in danger from being chased by Li Ming Shui. There were a few times where she was almost hit by Li Ming Shui. Shui Lingzi, who was dodging with all her might, suddenly discovered that Li Ming Shan was also slowly standing up and walking over to her. Seeing this, Shui spirit was shocked. She couldn't handle Li Ming Shui alone. With the addition of Li Ming Shan, Shui spirit knew that she would lose for sure. Seeing Li Ming Shui's blade coming, Shui spirit dodged to the side. According to the previous method, Shui spirit should retreat after dodging. But this time, Shui spirit didn't retreat. She knew that if she continued to dodge, she would lose for sure when Li Ming Shan came over. Thinking of this, Shui Lingzi clenched her teeth and took a step forward. Taking advantage of the fact that Li Ming Shui was caught off guard, she rushed into a saber light. Li Ming Shui saw that the situation wasn't good and quickly pulled back his blade. Shui spirit gritted her teeth and roared. Ignoring the pain in her arms, she punched out with both fists towards Li Ming Shui. Li Ming Shui's blade was outside, and it was impossible to dodge Shui spirit, who had rushed into the blade light. He could only clench his teeth and quickly pull back his blade towards Shui spirit's back. He hoped that Shui spirit would retreat from the attack range. But Li Ming Shui was wrong. Shui spirit knew that there were too many enemies. If they didn't make a move, no matter how strong they were, they would lose in the end. Thinking of this, Shui Lingzi felt a chill run down his spine, but he still punched towards Li Ming Shui. You're tuning in to the Warrior Lore YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.